July 31st to August 4th was when the annual convention Star Trek Las Vegas occurred. Being otherwise occupied on the other side of the Atlantic, I was regrettably not able to attend myself, but everyone else were. So in this live roundtable, we'll be going through the highs and the lows of this year's Star Trek Las Vegas. Filling me in on that is those that were in the attendance, like Tom and Rob from Midnight's Edge. How's it going, guys?
It's going, doing the best I can. Thank you.
Going pretty good, thank you.
And you were also joined by Mecha. How's it going?
It's going great.
Excellent. Someone else who also attended and that we're very happy to have join us today is Gary from Nerdrotic. Welcome, Gary.
Welcome. Thanks for having me. Things are great. I'm so happy to be here on Midnight's Edge finally.
And I'm so glad to have you here. It's long overdue, so about time. And again, congrats on your recent success. So happy for you.
Thank you.
But that is not all. Also joining us today is author of the Earthman Jack books, Matthew Kadish. How's it going, Matt?
It's going great, guys. Like Gary, I'm popping my Midnight's Edge cherry on the stream. So thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here. And it was great to meet all you guys in Vegas. We actually got to meet face to face instead of over the interwebs, except for Andre, of course, but we hope to rectify that soon.
We'll rectify that within 1 year. I promise you we'll rectify that. But until then, guys, I wasn't there, so you're going to have to fill me in. So let's just begin with your overall impression before we dive into more detail. But your overall impression of Star Trek Las Vegas. Let's begin with one of the cherry poppers. So, Gary, how was
Yes. What was your impression, Gary?
Sorry, I got distracted. I'm easily distracted. My overall impression of Star Trek Las Vegas was disappointment in the con itself, but meeting everybody there was great. The enthusiasm and the fandom is still there, but with smaller numbers. Now, I don't know that for sure. I wasn't there in previous years, but that's what I heard a lot on the floor as the numbers were down. It seemed a little old to me, like average age was 40 to 50. But everybody there was very cool. Even disco fans were very cool to all of us. I think I didn't experience any negativity. So within the fandom, there's still this hope that Star Trek will be good. And there's acknowledgement that there's problems. But and the event was okay. It was put on pretty cool. William Shatner Day was cool. I had a good time. I did, but it just wasn't in any of the panels or anything. It was everything else, the shopping and meeting people and getting pulled aside by actors from the show. That is interesting as well. Well, let's share on that one later, though. I don't want to hog up everything.
Looking forward to it. Matt, what were your impressions?
Well, I've gone to the con numerous times in recent years, so I actually have something to compare this year to. And my overall impression, kind of like Gary's, is that this year was very disappointing. I feel like they sucked all the oxygen out of the convention at Comic-Con with all their big announcements, and there was really nothing left for this convention. So enthusiasm was down. Like Gary said, attendance was down, especially compared to prior years where we had like the 50th anniversary of Star Trek about 3 years ago, and then the 25th anniversary of The Next Generation. And, those two conventions in particular, there were tons of people there. There was a ton of excitement, particularly the 50th anniversary, because that was around the time that Star Trek Discovery was premiering, so nobody had gotten a chance to see it yet, and they were really pushing it, and so people were really excited that Star Trek was coming back to TV. And there were all these announcements, like last year was the big Picard series announcement, and that created a lot of buzz. But this year, it was just like there was nothing. There was nothing new. There was nothing interesting. The crowd, I don't think it was average age 40 to 50, like Gary says, because I did see a lot of younger people, like 30s, in there. But it felt like a AARP convention in terms of the energy and stuff. So there was definitely a lot of disappointment. All the panels were really bad, I thought. And it was an off year, I guess.
Yeah, sometimes it's like that, I guess. Mecha, your thoughts?
Pretty much a lot of what they're saying is, yeah, the convention itself was kind of, it was a little dull for the panels because from my impression, it seems like, what else are they going to talk about? They do this every year, and they also have a cruise every year. So, I mean, they're going to say pretty much the same stories over and over again. They were trying to mix it up by having like different panels of, oh, we have all the doctors or all of, the bridge crew of Discovery. And it's still, I don't know, the panels were still kind of a little dull. Shatner's was amazing because, well, it's William Shatner. Kate Mulgrew's was really good as well because she's just so amazing and charming and wonderful. But a lot of like just the main panels that are trying to give us like information, and like you said, they blew their wad on Comic-Con. They really didn't give us anything new. The best part, the highlights, were hanging out with everybody and shopping and chit-chatting with stars and celebrities and you guys, of course. So that was my highlight. And I've never been to one previously, so I don't know. I don't have really much to compare it to.
Tom and Rob, anything to add to that?
Ahead, Rob.
Not really. Not a lot to add. I hate to, just going to echo a lot of the sentiments here. I've been to conventions before. I've been to music conventions. I've been to Beatle conventions. I've been to science fiction conventions. All different kinds of stuff. I've never been to a Star Trek oriented convention though. The actual day-to-day kind of stuff I thought was, okay, listen, I had fun. Okay, I had fun. So the panels were boring. I did feel they undercut themselves, though, by going to San Diego Comic-Con 2 weeks earlier. And, one thing I did notice is that it was pretty much dominated by a lot older people in the crowd, because obviously Star Trek appeals to older people. There were younger people, but most of the crowd was older because, quite frankly, they have the money to go to this thing. I did enjoy meeting everybody, but you kind of got the feeling that not that they were holding back, but that it was a little off. It was off, even though I'd never been to one of these things. It was just off for some reason. I don't know why. Tom, what do you think?
I share a lot of the same sentiments that everybody just said. What you just said, as far as my overall impression, it's definitely not worth the money. Like the Popcast guys who are in the chat right now said in their recent video about the whole situation, it was nothing much more than a big swap meet, an expensive, overpriced swap meet. And the panels were boring. They blew their wad in San Diego Comic-Con, like we said. We will get into what little we did get out of this as far as new news. But other than that, unless you wanted to go just spend a bunch of money on Star Trek stuff and pay exuberant amount of money to get your picture with, actors or, get autographs, then that part was horrible. But meeting all the people were great. For the most part, the people at Creation were awesome, but everything was disorganized as fuck. Like completely disorganized, especially by Saturday and Sunday. It was just unexcusable in some instances. I don't know if anybody wants to elaborate on that before we move on, but yeah, that was kind of my overimpression.
I had something.
Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
So I watched the Popcast guys video on the breakdown of the convention, which was pretty much spot on. I thought that they hit the nail on the head on pretty much every angle. But there was one part in particular, and I know this because I've done the vendors hall in the convention in previous years. And one of the things that they started doing because of the Axanar kerfluffle was that CBS Consumer Products began requiring vendors to submit for review before they were allowed to participate in the vendor hall in future conventions. I believe this started about 3 or 4 years ago, around the time that the Axanar lawsuit happened. So basically, they only allow people who either have nothing to do with Star Trek or only officially licensed Star Trek vendors in the vendor hall at these conventions. And in previous years, you used to have like all types of like fan booths where people would sell like, you know, homemade Star Trek art or do fan films or whatever. And it was just this really vibrant marketplace where you could go and you could get all types of like really fan oriented like love of Star Trek. And after the change where they had to be manually approved by CBS Consumer Products, you saw a lot of that stuff kind of like gotten rid of. And now it is more like a swap meet where you go in there and people are selling phone chargers and, you know, like T-shirts that have nothing to do with Star Trek and stuff like that. And the number of vendors who are actually approved to sell verified Star Trek licensed merchandise are very small. So you get a couple of those in there, but for the most part, it's just kind of like, you know, like tchotchkes and key rings and stuff like that. And so I felt like that really kind of sucked a lot of the oxygen out of, you know, the fun of going to a convention to begin with, is because CBS and Viacom have a long history of kind of stamping down on fandom in favor of licensing revenue. And the Axonar lawsuit was a real impetus for why people just, you know, can't, you know, sell fan-made stuff at Star Trek conventions anymore. It's a real shame. It's a real shame.
It absolutely is. It was. I've been to a lot of conventions. I've been to a lot of specialized conventions. I've been a retailer at them, and this was. I mean, I've seen worse. I've seen like little conventions in Scottish Rite centers down in San Diego that were a little smaller, but yeah, I expected a lot more people there, and a lot of it had to do was really spread out in this really giant place, and the venue was nice. I liked it. But yeah, there was something hollow about it and missing. And again, it just looked old to me. And the constant gouging of autographs was a bit much for me. I mean, I'll pay that much for Shatner. I won't blink at paying that much for Shatner. But as I said in my video, $60 for a Wilson Cruz autograph, please. That's a bit much. And they separate the pictures from the autographs, by the way. You got to get them separately. And considering how much people pay to go to these things, and these conventions are supposed to be where people can come and celebrate, and you can celebrate fandom. And what Matt just said there, I didn't realize that they had to, get authorized by CBS, and that probably had a lot to do with why it felt static. And again, it was just spread out. They didn't even have chairs filling up the entire hall for the main hall. And then in the main hall, they have people signing autographs, which I thought was really odd. So we're in a panel waiting in a line to sign for William Shatner, who's behind or kind of to the side of the stage. Yeah, some of the planning was a bit weird. And what Tom was saying, they were constantly reorganizing the signing schedule because people were flaking out or whatever. So they'd have this sheet that they put into your book going, well, here's the adjusted schedule. And it was completely changed. It was so funny. And then that changed. So, and I just think they were a little over optimistic on how fast they can get people through. But, and then when you are signing and you're getting your picture, there it is. You're herded like cattle and you have no time in it. So like, I met William Shatner for a nanosecond for $200, glad
That's
I did
really
it.
what it
I'll
is.
never
He's not
do
even
that again.
exaggerating.
No, it's just boom, and then you're out. Right.
It's cattle. They move you in, they move you out. Here's the other thing, because like they had another room for the other pictures. I don't know why they just didn't put the autographs in there, because there's just like a whole big portion of the room that wasn't being used.
Mm-hmm.
But yet they're cramming three different panels into three different rooms. You've got the autographs going on in the same room as the main panel. And the pictures going on in a totally different room, plus all the actors who are on the main floor. See, and those are a separate deal. So it was a mess. It was a big chaotic mess.
Well, we don't know. It might have been something having to do with fire codes or something like that. I mean, because the vendor hall gets pretty crowded.
Well, but they lined us up in front of the door, though, which had to have been because people were coming through the line when we were lined up to get William Shatner's autograph.
Yeah, well, that is the oh god, what's that? Was that the CBS what they call the All Access?
There was the All Access Hall. There was the Leonard Nimoy Theater. There was the DeForest Kelley Theater. Plus, they had shit going on.
That was
in
the
Course
Leonard
Bar.
Nimoy. Yeah.
The main theater was the Leonard Nimoy Theater. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the DeForest Kelley Theater was directly across from it, and that's where he had the Shatner photographs and stuff like that.
Yeah, and a lot of the kind of additional panels, like the Star Trek VR museum, the bridge reconstruction, where they have like an actual reconstruction of the original series bridge, where you could get your picture taken with Shatner and stuff like that. A lot of that stuff was very kind of lackluster as well, where it was just kind of like, it's there. You spend 2 minutes going through it, you've seen everything, and then boom, you're done, and you're bored.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and you want to spend all of your time doing Vegas stuff because you're in Vegas, and by the time you walk all the way to the convention hall, that's probably 4 miles to get from one end of the Rio all the way through the convention hall to the other end of the Rio to the parking lot.
Yeah, and also this year in Quark's Bar, like normally, like Quark's Bar was just its own thing where you could go and kind of get like food, drink, chill out, talk with other Star Trek fans. And the Popcast guys pointed out that this year they actually had a panel being hosted inside Quark's Bar, and so every time you went in there, if there was a panel,
there was like a fashion show and some other shit.
It was annoying as hell. It was just like you're like, I just want to chill out, and I can't hear myself over this guy who's yelling into the mic.
And somebody asked how much the autographs on the floor, unhinged crank. The autographs on the floor were averaging anywhere from 30 to 50, sometimes more. Now, like, the great thing, like, guys like, well, the only one I know of doing this, Clint Howard was awesome, because all you had to do was buy the picture and he'd autograph it, and he'd autograph anything for free. Now, the rest of them, you had to basically pay them for the autograph, pay them for a selfie, pay them for the picture, other things like that. It started to add up, and a lot of them only took cash. And see, I didn't know until after I watched the Popcast thing that there was some thing where you could go out and get the tickets for the cash for those who only took cash. I didn't know about that. There was a few who did take cards on the floor, but that was it. So yeah, I don't know. We should probably move on from this portion of it to the next part, because we've talked an awful lot about it. And I know Andre doesn't have much to add to this because he wasn't there, unfortunately. So
yeah, no, the only thing I can add is that I have never been to a convention in America, but I have been to conventions in Europe. I have been to the Star Trek specific destination Star Trek Europe, which basically goes back and forth between the UK and Germany, because those are the two territories outside of America where you actually have a sizable Star Trek fan base. And it sounds honestly like an impoverished version of Destination Star Trek Europe. But,
well, I'll tell you this: it continued the long-standing tradition since Into Darkness of Star Trek disappointing. So,
okay, yeah, that doesn't sound too good. But speaking of the disappointment, let's then move into the panels themselves. Because we all saw how basically they blew their wad at Comic-Con. So what was left of the Picard panel? What were your impressions on that?
Well, it was 35 minutes of nothing. That's really what it was. 35 minutes of absolutely nothing. And not only that, you had other cast members in the building that didn't get up on stage. So that was also disappointing. Otherwise, it was Jonathan Frakes, Jerry Ryan, and
the actor who plays Hugh,
and that's it.
Yeah,
they even brought up, because Brent Spiner was there and stuff like that. They brought him up, but they didn't bring him up on stage. And it was really disappointing.
Didn't Jonathan Frakes even say at one point, "Where's Brent Spiner?"
Yeah, we thought, oh, here he comes. They're going to bring him out. And, we're waiting for the surprise that maybe they'd bring out Patrick Stewart or something like that. But nope. The only thing we really got out of it was Jerry Ryan said that she was in more than one episode, I think. That was
more than two. Jonathan Frakes directed her first 2 episodes, was exactly what she said.
And then Jonathan Frakes has only done one scene so far in Picard, but he does have more coming up in episodes he doesn't direct.
When Jonathan Frakes, one of the big directors of the Star Trek Picard series, comes out on stage wearing a T-shirt that says, "I signed an NDA, don't ask me anything," that tells you all you need to know about what to expect from that panel.
He had that.
Yeah.
He had a T-shirt on that said that, yeah.
The other disappointing thing, while we're bringing it up, because Honk Honkler says it, so it was a TNG panel. They did have a TNG panel, but the sad part is they had a good 75% of the TNG cast there, and we didn't get a reunion on stage of all of them. Like most of the cast is there, and it's really sad that we didn't get them all up there.
Yeah, and Patrick Stewart was nowhere to be seen.
He was the only main missing one, yeah.
They could have even just had him record something. Why couldn't they have had him like get on a cell phone and say, "Hey, I'm busy filming Picard. I wish I was there with you. Look forward to it. Engage. Something. Give me something." They didn't even do that.
There was not a lot of thought put into this one.
Yeah. Well, no, what they did was they made a point to say and to go on, because their whole big message was diversity, inclusion, all this stuff. So they made a point to tell us that Hugh, the actor who plays Hugh, is married to Jerry Ryan's manager. And that made me think that if you're telling me if the only really interesting about this person is that they're married to a man, why I'm supposed to be excited for it because what? I don't care. I don't really care. You're acting like this is the only important thing about it. They went on with that for a long time, for probably 15-20 minutes of the panel was the diversity, and I'm representative, and people are asking, well, is Hugh gay? And I'm muttering under my breath, I don't care if Hugh is gay. I just want to know what the story is.
Yeah, it was almost like a back and oops, sorry, go ahead, Matt.
I was going to say, a commenter made a good point that there are more people watching some of Gary's streams than there were at the convention this year. So, yeah, that was pretty spot on, actually.
Oh, well, I mean, I poked my head at, I have no patience for boring panels. So, and every single one, as soon as they started talking about diversity and what Popcast was talking about, was complaining about the president, I was out. I just walked out.
It did. It seemed like a back and forth match between like, oh, Star Trek diversity is the best one ever. And then they're like, no, you forgot on Enterprise we did this. Well, you forgot on Deep Space Nine we did this. And you forgot on TNG that we did this. So at least other people were pointing that out on the panels. That was a plus, and we did get a $5 super chat from Unhinged Crank. He says, used to be called Star Trek Grand Slam, then STLV. Now it's Star Trek Zombie Walk.
Yeah.
It's pretty much.
But actually, Tom, you bring up a good point, though. There seems to be in just listening to the panels, and God knows I listened to enough of the panels all day.
Yeah, all the Sunday was panels. They were just the panels all day.
Yeah. All day Sunday, but there seems to be a rift between the older casts and the casts of STD, and how the older casts were saying, "Well, you know what, you guys need to relax. We did all this stuff." But even Roxanne Dawson said, "We didn't need to beat you over the head with this. We did what we did, and we just let it speak for ourselves." And then you listen to the STD related panels. Oh, it's so great, diversity, and we hump, and we're the first show to show a member of Starfleet hump a water buffalo or something like that, or it's just, it was just like, give it a rest. Just give it a rest. Even Doug Jones got to a point. He said, "Hey guys, let's calm down." Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when Doug Jones is telling you to, in his most respectful way he can. Like, he seems like such a sweetie. He's way more diplomatic than I would be. But, he kind of, I'll paraphrase him, like, hey, stop. We got it. We get it, because they went off about, like Jason Isaacs comes on and he's like, oh, we've got a racist in the White House. I don't care. I don't need some British actor to tell me like politics. I'm in a Star Trek convention. Are you coming back from the mirror universe, right? Wilson Cruz gave us, hey, this is the bill you should vote for gun control. I don't care. I'm at a Star Trek convention.
None of the panels this year really offered you any real insight. Like if you went to the Picard panel hoping to learn about the Picard show, you learned absolutely nothing from it that you couldn't have gleaned from the trailer that they released over Comic-Con. I felt like the best panel I saw the entire time, and it's a 5-day convention, so there's a lot of stuff to kind of unpack there, was the panel with Anson Mount and Jason Isaacs, because they met for the first time up on stage, and you got to see them kind of banter with one another. And Jason Isaacs, all of his political rampages aside, he's actually a very charismatic, like he's theater trained, so he's really good live up on stage. He's very funny. And so he just had the crowd eating out of the palm of his hand. And Anson Mount's kind of like more the straight man, and he's very sincere, and he had a lot of really good heartfelt responses for the fans. And seeing those two up on stage, there was a lot of kind of a vibe after that panel where people really wanted to see Anson Mount get a Captain Pike show. And Jason Isaacs kind of hinted, and this is just speculation on my part, where he kind of hinted that there could be a possibility of a Captain Lorca spinoff as well, with Prime Lorca being the focus of that.
Maybe not anymore.
No more.
Well, the OA just got canceled, so he's got an opening in his schedule. So the possibility is there. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but he expressed his interest in returning to Star Trek, at least up on stage.
Well, maybe you shouldn't have thrown them under the bus and leaked a whole bunch of information about him. Well, that's a thing for later, though. But
yeah, we'll get it back into that fun stuff afterwards, because I really want to hear all the fun stories that you have to tell, like the cool revelations. But for now, let's just get done with the panels. So basically, the Picard panel was a whole waste of space. Basically, it was completely useless.
Yeah, they showed the trailer. That was about it.
Yeah, that we've all seen on the internet before, right?
Yeah, we saw it there. We saw it a week before from Comic-Con, and
exactly. So like nothing new there.
Nothing new.
Well, I got to say this. This is what really makes me convinced that they meant to save all this stuff for Star Trek Las Vegas. There was an entire Picard theme around the whole thing. Like they had the Picard Museum and stuff like that, to where it felt like they were probably trying to hold on to this for this, and then they got that shot to get in there when Warner Brothers dropped out, and they took advantage of it.
Mecha, you still got the program on you? Hold up the back of the program. I mean, there's a big banner of Picard. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, they were selling bottles. They had like 100 bottles of Chateau Picard wine.
Yeah.
They had T-shirts they were selling. They were really, really pushing the Picard show, and then it really feels like they just dropped it all a week earlier. So.
Ironically, you couldn't actually get any of the Picard wine because
No,
they weren't allowed to sell it at the show.
Yeah.
No, but they did have shirts. They did have the cups. They had all kinds of crap to push Picard, including the museum, like I said.
Actually, I did kind of like the shirts. I kind of regret not picking up one of the Star Trek Picard shirts, but I don't really want to funnel money into what they're doing. So
it's just a simple crew shirt is all it really is, where it just says Star Trek Picard.
Yeah.
Well, no, they have
nothing
the
that
Chateau
special.
Picard with the vineyard on there.
Oh, they have that one too?
Yeah, I saw a lot of those around.
So simple is nice, though. I mean, so. But anyway, like I said, I just don't want to support what they're doing.
Well, everything I bought was Babylon
money.
5 related. I did not want to give them any more money.
But the best shirt I got at the convention was the Nerdrotic shirt Gary gave me.
Oh, you guys are too nice.
Tom got one for me, and I have no idea what happened to it. But I don't know. Tom said you guys one, so I don't know.
Can I shout out the Popcast gave me whooped me up a Justice for a Nos shirts, and they will be available eventually. But thank you guys for doing that. That was great. Walking around the convention with a Justice for a Nos.
Speaking of, since we keep bringing them up, I'm going to try and get on here if they can get a hold of me on Twitter or something.
They're in there.
Yeah.
Hi,
glad to have them.
Works.
Yeah. Until we get them to join. So basically, to sum up the panel so far, the Picard panel was a waste of time. The Discovery panel, from what I understand, was trying to outwoke each other. Is that about right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anything to add to the Discovery panel other than
you made most of the panel for Discovery, didn't you, Mecha and Rob? I seen seen some of what's her face's panel, and that's about it.
Sonequa Martin Green's. Well, her panel was also a waste. It was, if you're a fan of Sonequa Martin Green and really care about her acting history, her family, her jobs in Hollywood, and then you would really, really enjoy it. But it's nothing as far as useful information as far as the show goes. So
I will say this: one of the interesting things I learned from the panels was just how much the whole cast of Discovery really loves and respects Sonequa Martin Green. Apparently, when she was working on The Walking Dead.
that was every panel they had to. It was so much like a talking point,
Well, I feel like it's an interesting thing because when she was working on The Walking Dead, she learned from Andrew Garfield or Andrew Lincoln. I'm sorry, I forget his name. Whoever played Rick Grimes on the show, he did this thing where he would throw parties after the show had wrapped, and he'd have dinners with the cast, and he'd do a lot of things to try to foster a community among the cast members. Like he'd throw parties when someone died to kind of send them off and stuff, and it created a real tight-knit group on that production. And so when she moved over to Discovery, she kind of brought that with her, where she started hosting game nights and things like that with with her fellow cast members, and so it created this really tight knit like group on that show, kind of centered around Sonequa Martin Green. And so you can tell that they really circled the wagons around her, and they really bolster her, and that's why I don't think Michael Burnham's going anywhere soon, because the cast and crew just love her so much. So I found that kind of like an interesting point. So if anybody's thinking that they might kill off Michael Burnham at any point in time, I don't think that's ever going to happen.
I don't think anybody would ever think that. I think she is untouchable. I don't think they would ever get rid of her.
Has the power to reverse death. That's what it is. She's the best ever.
She's got an Iron Man suit that travels in time. She is a goddess. And she's named Michael, and her mom's name Gabriel?
I don't know.
Yeah, Michael Gabriel, to the three angels mentioned in the Bible.
Archangels, yeah.
The archangel. And then
Subtle.
the other.
Subtle.
Oh, yeah.
We don't want her fired. She's a perfectly lovely actress, and I just don't like the whole show being revolved around one main character, because it's an ensemble cast, And
it was interesting seeing the more minor Star Trek Discovery actors in the vendor hall signing autographs, because you had the black girl with like the big long dreadlocks, and you had the girl who played the half android chick.
Yeah. No, we watched their whole panel. And I mean, I don't know. Are we going to talk about like the Bridge Crew panel, or do we want to put that in with the Discovery stuff? Because
I thought we already moved over to Discovery. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, but it's all like there were like 4 different Discovery panels. Like the first panel we went to on Sunday morning was the Bridge Crew, which with Lisa Left Eye and Mrs. T, LeBron, Not Sulu, and Nebula, and all those people, because we don't know their names. To be honest, so we had to make them up. And every question, even Robb was in line he was going to get a question answered, and everybody just took his question. Will we see more of these characters? Will they have lines? Will they have characters this season, or are they just background extras? In so many words. Everybody wants more of that, and that was the big sort of message, was that no, we want to like these characters. We want an ensemble cast. We want to know who these people are.
Yeah, one of the stranger things that happened during the convention, and I don't think this was widely publicized, but in previous years, Kate Mulgrew, Captain Janeway, she had kept a fair distance away from her fellow Voyager cast members. Like pretty much she just didn't want anything to do with them, even though she'd be at the convention along with like a bunch of other cast members. She'd never interact with them. She'd never say hi. She never really cared about what they were up to or what they were doing. She just wasn't friendly with them. And so most of the Voyager actors who are at these conventions, at least in previous years, they would just kind of do their own thing, and Kate Mulgrew might show up and do her own panel and then leave. But this year, something interesting happened where Kate Mulgrew actually showed up on stage with her former Voyager cast members, and she said, "Oh, I missed you guys. I love you guys." And so she was actually making an effort to kind of reach out to these former cast members who she has pretty much ignored for going on a decade now, I think. And she still hates Jerry Ryan with 7 passions, so like she didn't reach out to her. But people like like Ensign Kim and Tuvok and people like that actually made an effort to try to reconnect with this year. And it was very strange. It was out of character for her, because she is a very self-centered person from my understanding. So I'm wondering if, because Orange is the New Black is ending, maybe she's jockeying for like a Janeway series like Picard's getting or something like that. I have no idea, but I found that was like an interesting bit of gossip, because the Voyager cast that was in attendance at this year's convention was genuinely surprised that she actually bothered to acknowledge them this year.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we did get one.
How did that work out? If she's like trying to reconnect with all of them, apart from Jerry Ryan, like are they on the same stage? She's like, "I missed you all, apart from you."
Well, they had a Voyager panel. I don't believe Jerry Ryan was up there, but she kind of walked up out on stage as a surprise in the middle of the Voyager panel and kind of said hi to everyone. And then I guess afterward, she kind of stuck around and chit-chatted with those people a bit.
Didn't we see that Voyager panel? Was it Garrett Wang, Roxanne Dawson, and there was someone else, wasn't there?
Yeah, Tim Russ.
Tim Russ, that's right.
Yeah, we saw a little bit of a Voyager panel. And then we saw a little bit of the Doctor panel while we were waiting in line for William Shatner's autograph, because it was like right to our left. It's like, oh, there's the stage.
Yeah.
But no, there was one interesting thing that came out of Kate Mulgrew's panel. Somebody asked her a question at the end where they said, do you think Discovery will actually get rid of this dark, depressing thing and actually start exploring and have a hopeful, optimistic look at the future? And she said, well, they don't do that already? And everybody in the audience is like, no, they're not doing it. Everybody's cheering, saying, no, it's not. It's not good. It's horrible. It's dark and depressing. And she says, well, I haven't seen it, but I hope they will. And I have to find it. I think we have the clip somewhere. But she's admitted she's never seen Discovery. And she asks, is that a show for millennials?
That's right.
Didn't quite a few of the older casts admit that they hadn't seen Discovery?
Yeah, they either hadn't seen it, it's not very good. There was even a song at the Rat Pack night, How Do We Fix Discovery? Great.
Well, I just know from my experience, because I used to work at Paramount and I was there when Enterprise was being shot, and I kind of networked with a lot of Star Trek people. Kate Mulgrew was not very well liked on the production. So I always got the sense that she was kind of a diva, a little bit self-important. So her kind of coming back around, it's her motivations are a little suspect, at least to me. So I think there might be something there where she's jockeying for some type of cameo or,
yeah, it's possible. Well, she was asked if she'd come back as Admiral Janeway. Yeah.
Speaking of diva, Mecha, tell them about our run-in with Mary Chieffo.
Oh, Mary Chieffo. Well, this is part of some of the more of the Twitter drama too, because people have been like accusing us of bragging and telling people not to watch Discovery right in front of Mary Chieffo, which wasn't the case. So we were walking through the main floor, and they had like a setup where you could get your picture taken with a lot of tribbles and be buried under tribbles. So the woman at that booth, I think she was like working that little booth or whatever. She says, "I've never seen Discovery." Well, Rob and I were walking out of the convention towards like the hotel again or whatever, and we said to each other, she said she's never seen it, and we're saying to each other, yeah, don't. As we're walking this way, Mary Chieffo crosses our path. We didn't even know. We felt horrible because she overheard. She overheard us say, "Don't watch Discovery," and she shot daggers out of her eyes at us. Oh, I felt so bad. It's like, oh no.
What happened though is the lady at the tribble table, she was one that said she hadn't seen Discovery, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the people she was talking to told her, don't watch it. And then
that's right.
Yeah. And then we said, did you hear that? They were saying, don't watch it. And then you said, don't. And then you had said, don't watch it. And here comes Mary Chieffo, all not 6'1" of her, tall drink of water, lovely looking lady, but she glowered at us. And I don't use that word very often. She absolutely glowered, to use an old timey expression. I mean, she might as well turn me Mecha to stone. the way she
I know, and then of course people on Twitter are saying, "Oh, you bragged about telling people not to watch it in front of Mary." Like, no,
we did.
So bad, actually. Like, oh shit, and we didn't actually tell anybody else. It's just she happened to overhear us because she was right in front of us and we didn't see, because she was like, they had like a dressing area or like a backstage area. You had to cross the path of the main convention thing, and let me see if I have it on a map here where that tribble thing was. I don't remember where the tribble thing was, but yeah,
it was just as you first come in there.
Yeah, it was right. It was right by the bathrooms, kind of on your way.
Yeah. So she's like crossing out of here, and we're coming like up this way. So she crosses right in front. Oh man.
Well, the other thing too is a lot of the cast members of the various shows and a lot of people were milling. The way it's set up, they're all milling around. Mm-hmm. And we walked past Anthony Rapp. We actually had an elevator close on Tim Russ accidentally.
Oh yeah, I didn't see him, but some people like came in the elevator after us, like, "Oh, we just closed it on Tim Russ." What? Why would you do that? Oh.
Tom, remember Jesse's run-in with Q?
Yeah, he did in the elevator, and then didn't you guys with
John Billingsley? We saw, he's Armstrong, and
Oh yeah, we had a lot of run-ins. We do have a super chat here, real quick. €5, sorry, from Fudongshi. Hopefully we're saying it right.
Fudongshi.
It looks like Fudongshi, I guess.
Okay. Hiya, Alex from Germany again. Love the new stream setup. It's so much better than the Hangouts. Keep it up, and may STD rot in the caves of Quanos.
Yeah, we just need to get cameras, all of us. Then we'll be.
Yes, I have mine, but it doesn't want to work with Firefox.
I have mine, but my internet is
Hey,
Here's
there.
Rob.
Yeah, just turn yours on. Leave yours on. Just put
Yours
it
is
lower
fine.
so we can see it.
It works much better with this than it did with Hangouts. Yeah.
That's
I
probably
can-
because this doesn't suck up as much resources, probably.
Yeah, mine doesn't want to work. I don't know why.
Which
I know
really makes me
exactly
question-
why mine doesn't.
All
Because
the Midnight's Edge guys have something to hide. Don't trust them.
Don't.
Well,
All I
Rob,
have
turn
to
your
do is-
camera on.
All I have to hide is my bald head. That's yeah. I have a certain image that I want to look cool, but for me that's very difficult. So
Guys, there was this one time where
cool
Rob was
nerd.
actually walking around with a Charlie Brown
that's
t-shirt
fun.
on. He looked just like Charlie Brown. Sort of.
There, that's how cool he looks. So
Good
yeah, we
grief.
have to swap badges too because they clamp them onto your wrists. So there, I'll put it on you so you don't see me. There he is. This is the one where my eyes are closed in there. So
I gotta
he's got the
scan
better one. He's got the better one.
Hate to break this to you, Rob. You're a nerd. You're not cool. Neither am I. It's fine.
I've never been cool.
Ah,
See
look
that?
at that picture. Ah, that's so great.
Where's your where's the other one? Where was the autographed one? You have the autographed one.
Yeah, it's
And I
in
think
the-
you have the Q one too. You have the John
Yeah,
Delancey one, too.
John Delancey, yeah.
I got a whole bunch of them. But
So
anyway,
you guys
so,
have unpacked. That's good. I haven't even unpacked
I
yet.
haven't unpacked. No.
So was there anything to add to the STD panels, or should we move on to the only thing?
Yeah,
we actually
there
did get some
there was
news
no news about season 3. There was nothing from Michelle
no.
Paradise. She didn't make any appearances. It was strictly the cast.
Michelle,
Oh, she was there. She was in front of us.
She was there, but she wasn't up on stage. She didn't
No.
talk or anything like
And she
that.
ran out before we could ask her anything. We're like, okay, there she is, and she gets up and runs. Like
Alex Kurtzman didn't
he wasn't
get
there.
up on stage. He wasn't there. So it was pretty much
That-
just like some celebrity worship going on.
That is a big deal. Again, with all the Kurtzman stuff, and we won't have to get into it here. I asked 2 months ago, this is your Kevin Feige, right? Of Star Trek. Where was he?
Mhm.
Where was he at Star Trek Lost? I mean, he should have been. He was last year when they, where was he? He should have been all over. He was at San Diego. Everybody was at San Diego.
He was probably back shooting on the Picard set because Patrick Stewart wasn't there, Michael Chabon wasn't there. There were a lot of people who were there.
Nobody was there of any importance to their biggest show, Star Trek Picard, which is their biggest show. Star Trek Discovery has now taken the back seat, and there was no presence there whatsoever. That's why I felt like there was no real need to go to the panels. I poked my head into some, and I'm like, there's nobody here. I mean, it's just some cast members, and they're going to repeat information, and yeah, it was nothing. It was a big nothing. And Star Trek fans who paid, we paid a lot of money to go there, and some people paid thousands. The gold membership. Oh, for my bronze membership, I got a coin. I got a Star Trek Discovery coin. So if anybody wants it, it's theirs. First person who says they want it, they can have it. Otherwise, I'm gonna.
Warning: it does have the Discovery on the back.
It does. I was gonna throw
I
in
gotta
a
see
wishing
if I
well
still
or
have
something.
mine. I don't even know where mine went. Mexican Iron Man. I sent them the link. We're just waiting for them to pop in here. So
I have
hopefully
one
they'll-
question about the panels before we move into the final
Yes.
one, because evidently attendance on this year's Star Trek convention was down compared to previous years. How was attendance in these panels themselves? Like, were they packed, or were they mostly empty, or
Yeah,
How
for the
was-
most part, like a lot of the smaller panels, it was like you could fill up maybe like 2 or 3 rows because they were in these huge theaters, really. In the main room, I don't think there was ever a panel that filled it, whereas with previous years, it would be like standing room only and stuff like that. I think attendance was around 4,000 this year, something like that, 4,000.
The Picard panel was full. That was about it. That was the one that drew the largest crowd. Just about every seat in the place. There were some empty seats here and there, but the Picard panel had the highest attendance of all the ones that we went to. Even the Rat Pack show, that I don't think that had a very big crowd. When you say maybe half,
It was like probably more than half. Yeah, more than half.
which is a shame because the Rat Pack show was fun.
Yeah, that was like the best thing we did the whole at the panels, because they were the ones who weren't, it was all the cast that we liked and all the shows that we liked. It was people from Voyager and Enterprise, or not Voyager. DS9 and Enterprise, pretty much. It was they're doing music, they're doing parody style songs, all Star Trek related, and it was fine. It was fun.
Lana, where's my headset?
But pretty much everything else.
That's
Do it live. We'll do it live.
We'll wait till they're ready again.
No, but all the other panels, though, every panel they had these.
keep them on.
Points, right? Everything was like all diversity. At the end of every panel was diversity. And Alex Kurtzman's the best ever, and Sonequa Martin Green's the best ever. Almost like they were instructed to say that. You
also had like a lot of these minor panels, like like Star Trek and comic books or something like that, and basically you had a panel going on every like 45 minutes or so. And so like
one sounds interesting. I would have gone to that one, the Star Trek and comic books.
Well, I mean, like I sat in on it, and it was really boring. It was like, can Transformers show up in a Star Trek comic book? And you're just like, I don't care. And so like those were like some really lightly attended panels, and yeah. So like,
hey everybody.
Hi Brian.
We just got joined with Brian from the Popcast. Welcome.
Hey, I can't find my headset, so I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Your head, I mean, right now.
No, it's a different headset, but this one's fine. How you guys doing, man? Good to see you guys again.
Good to see you again.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I was about to say though the best panel we actually went to was the Lower Decks one.
Oh yeah, the actual
Yes, let's get into that. I'm curious what you have to say about that one, and then of course we can have the Popcast share their feelings on the matter.
Well, I thought that one was good. I thought that one was good. Like that's the one I'm most excited for, because that's the one where they said 100% they feel like it is in canon and it's taking place at the same time as TNG. And that's the one where they put like all the Star Trek writers, it seems, all the people who actually know Star Trek on this one. It does seem like it was a big, hey, we revealed everything at Comic-Con, oopsie. So they came in and they gave us like little animated, like eye blinks for all the little Lower Deck characters. Because they even said, now we know you guys think that we showed all this off at Comic-Con, but we have something new just for you, and it was just blinking. So.
Couple animated gifs, yeah.
Little.
But Tom and I did get to ask questions though.
Yeah, they got to ask questions. We did get to ask questions. Well, Tom's question was, are we going to get any cast members from Next Generation on the series? And they said that it definitely takes place in the canon universe. They stressed canon universe. We think it's in the same as TNG. It's taking place at the same time in the same universe. We would love to get those people on. So in their minds, they're writing it as canon TNG spinoff that just happens to be animated. I don't think it's going to be as funny as I think we were fearing. I think it's going to be a lot more like the Orville, and of course that'll go into Rob's question that they totally avoided. So, do you remember what your question was, Rob?
I said, no, you guys are doing. Let me be on camera for this. I told them that, and I made sure to wear my Charlie Brown T-shirt, as someone pointed out, to stand out. And you can see my dirty laundry in the back. I don't want to just move that. So yeah, I said to them, you guys are doing a comedic Star Trek show, but there's already a comedic Star Trek show in parody form that's currently airing called The Orville.
Yeah.
I said, and I asked them, how do you plan to differentiate yourselves from The Orville, from what they're doing and what do you plan to do that's different? What are you going to show us that's going to be different? And they said, well, you know what? Seth's a great voice and he's perfect for what they're doing. But we feel that, we have, there's plenty of room for everybody, whether it's Lower Decks or the Orville or Final Space or Galaxy Quest or whatever. But we think that, there's lots of room. We got, there's so synchronous. And he didn't actually answer the question.
Mm-hmm. But they say there's not going to be a crossover because it's in its own universe.
No.
It was going to be a crossover.
Just what are you going to show us? How are you going to differentiate yourself? How are you going to stand out between the Orville and yourself? Since you're doing and they actually said that lower level ship, not the best and the brightest, and everything. Like everything they said sounds like the Orville.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the
On
focus
Red
is on
Dwarf.
Second Contact, not First Contact.
Yeah, that's
this
what
is
I
like
was
the
just
B
gonna-
team.
never mind.
And Red
Matt covered
Dwarf.
it.
Yeah, they have a character that is pretty much just like Arnold Rimmer, that Bromley or whatever his name is going to be. They described him as Arnold Rimmer. He's a very much by the books, kind of, you know, procedure organized, no sense of humor, worries. He's Arnold Rimmer, you know, and they're very influenced by Red Dwarf, which, I mean, this might actually be the best one. This might be, you know, well, screw Star Trek. I'll just watch Lower Decks and pretend it's actually Star Trek because they have like Federation insignias and things. So
But it was after that, wasn't it? Kind of after that, they sort of lined up more of the plants, or the, I don't want to say shows, but the plants.
the loaded
The
questions.
plants.
The
Yeah.
loaded questions of
Oh
Like
shit!
a lot
it was after the Jason Isaacs. Yeah,
There's
it
a
was
lot of
after,
loaded questions. Yeah.
it was like, oh, since they knew exactly what they were doing, or since Alex Kurtzman is this and that, and you know, so they give a lot of loaded questions. Yeah, that is after,
everything-
in my opinion, if they seemed,
They
because
still-
the normal people who were asking questions were, you know, you're so great, and I had no idea Lorca was from the Mirror Universe, and I love you so much, and I didn't know anything, and how is this and that. So you can kind of tell the actual, like, the Discovery fans who are getting up asking questions versus the YouTube channels, or the in our opinion, they really seemed like, you know, plants, like production assistants or something, getting up and asking questions.
Yeah, it just seemed like, oh, we haven't the people. So there's a couple intelligent people asking questions. We better make sure nobody else gets a chance. So.
Yeah, there were a lot of random questions too that like got the actors to go on political rants. It seems like,
oh yes,
how many of these people care so much about politics that they're asking these actors what their opinions are in real time. It felt really forced.
I will say there was this one interesting kind of loaded political question that was asked during the Anson Mount panel, where someone got up on stage and said that they had heard a rumor that for the original script for the premiere of the second season of Discovery, that originally Captain Pike was supposed to be much more religious, and he was going to be a very devout Christian. And so he asked Anson Mount if he could kind of confirm or deny that. And Anson Mount totally just sidestepped the question. He said, "Look, that's not for me to comment on." And he basically, in his kind of sidestepping of it, confirmed that this was indeed the case. And I found that very interesting, because they basically had to go back and rewrite out all the religious stuff that they initially put in there. And so that was kind of an interesting insight into probably one of the reasons why Discovery's season 2 went over budget so quickly, is because, from my understanding, they actually shot part of the season 2 premiere with that kind of religious take on things, and they had to go back and reshoot that stuff to get it out of there.
Yeah,
so
wasn't just the premiere; it was the first 5 episodes. Like they basically had to redo the first 5 episodes, not the whole episodes, but a large part of them. And this is one of the things that we actually reported on Midnight's Edge, that Pike in this series was an extreme Catholic, to the point where he had to go down and pray for every single decision, and that they reshot. And you saw that there, that he wouldn't deny it.
And that was a big reason why Harbert and Berg, the original showrunners for season 1, were fired, among other things. But like they kind of let the second season go over budget really quick, and I think it was because of those reshoots.
Well, the whole season 2 was supposed to be about faith. It was all about faith.
Yeah, you saw that at the beginning with the church and everything there. So that was like the theme, and then they aborted it midstream.
And then they found Anas's video game. They're like, "Oh, screw faith. Let's go with targeted
faith."
Yeah.
Well, that was one though. That was,
they learn words. No, they will learn words they're not really familiar with in Hollywood, like empathy and faith, and they try to throw them out there like a kid.
It's not going to work.
There's a word called empathy. It means caring about people. I heard. I don't know what it's like. I have no, because I live in Hollywood and I don't care about anybody. But yeah,
they also like science and like
that's
to tell
the power
us
of math, people.
I like science.
F yeah.
Yay, science.
That's a big ass
science.
space bear in space.
Well, before we continue, we have a super chat here. Unhinged Crank for $2. 40th anniversary of the motion picture panel. How was it? Did anybody attend that? I don't think we attended that. Did Mecha?
No, I didn't. We missed that one.
Was that the loud ass panel in the back of Quarks? Because that was frustrating.
That might have been that panel. Let me see.
They did have kind of blown up storyboards for the motion picture kind of displayed all along the hall.
That was cool.
That was cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Quark's Bar, biggest disappointment. It was just
such a disappointment.
Snack shack.
Yeah, it was just like $10 sandwiches.
Yeah, I didn't get to go see the motion picture thing either because it was going on at the same time as one of the photo ops or something like that. I can't remember.
It's funny because there's the biggest Star Trek club in the nation is here in Las Vegas, and they actually have a Quarks bar that the club itself created, and they actually took the time to try to model it to look like Quarks bar, whereas when you go to the official Star Trek convention, it's just like they set up some tables and like a little snack bar, and they called it Quarks. There was like no thought or effort put into actually trying to make it look like the Deep Space Nine set or anything like that.
They had a couple of old props from the Star Trek experience. You know, they had like the like a couple of the tables that I recognized. I'm like, oh, they used to have that. But I think they had more stuff at the Millennium Fandom bar from Star Trek Las Vegas.
They did. They actually did. Alex.
Millennium Fandom was awesome. I got more pictures from Millennium Fandom than I did at the convention.
Yeah, I think I did too.
Yeah, it's a great bar. For those of you who don't know, there's this bar in Vegas called
the Millennium
Fandom Bar, and
it's the idol from Indiana Jones, right?
Yeah. This was also at the bar. Sorry to cut you off, man.
Yeah, the bar is kind of like a science fiction themed bar, and it's got kind of memorabilia from Star Wars, Star Trek, like The Fifth Element, horror movies, all types of stuff. Yeah, and so like you can go there and you can grab drinks, and they encourage cosplay and all this types of stuff. So it's a really cool geeky bar here in Las Vegas that the Star Trek convention here, or the Star Trek club here actually holds their weekly meetings at. And that was where the big YouTube meetup for everyone who was attending the Star Trek convention was, that Gary kind of organized for everyone, and it was a lot of fun.
It was. I found that place a couple of years ago because they were doing 3 years ago. They were doing Game of Thrones watch parties there, and I wasn't going to miss Game of Thrones even if I was in Vegas. And met Alex, and it's a cool place, and yeah, it's like a sports bar. So think sports bar, nerd bar, and he was gonna do it here in San Francisco, and wisely he did not, because it would cost him a lot of money. But it's a good place to go.
What I would do to have one of those bars in Orange County. Oh, God. That'd be amazing. There's not enough nerds out here, though.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you have to come to Vegas to experience because it's like a tourist attraction type thing.
It's worth it, though. I had to leave early. I'm sorry, boys. I really wanted to stay later, too.
Yeah, we missed you.
Yeah. Well, to have you.
Yeah. No. I'm sorry. I had to leave early from the bar. That's what I was talking about.
Oh, yeah. I see. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's all right.
Well, yeah. Okay, we have a $2 super chat from Proper Jeremy.
Jeremy,
hello everyone. Great meeting you in Vegas. What up?
What's up, brother?
Proper.
Yeah, he was actually there at the Millennium Fandom bar, and we all got to meet him. It was really cool.
Yeah,
I saw Mary Mayhem's in the chat too. What's up, Mary?
Yeah, Jeremy actually had to crash at my place for a few hours as he got his car fixed.
I saw that. So
tire split. Yeah,
it's hot out there.
Hey, so did any of you have that same experience at Quarks where you're trying to relax and have a drink, but it's insanely loud?
Yeah.
Right?
We didn't go into it until like the last day.
Yeah, Brian, in your video where you called attention to that, I was like, that's exactly what my experience was, because every time I walked in there was some panel and like you couldn't hear over the mic. I was like, why didn't they just put that in a different room? Like let Quarks be a chill place.
Well, one of the other things too is they had a display there that would constantly play the Deep Space Nine theme, which I really don't have an issue with, but it was very loud. It was advertising, I think the latest Bally's or Williams or whatever it was, slot machine,
right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the slot machine. I was accosted by that guy like 3 times. I was like, "Don't you recognize me? You already gave me the speech, man." He hit me up 3 times in a matter of like an hour and a half. I was there.
I think we avoided. I didn't get any sales pitches. We had a lot of people recognizing me, but I'm kind of identifiable a little bit.
Mecha was definitely,
no one recognized me. I offered to buy drinks, and no one even showed up.
Tom had somebody recognize him. Robb had quite a few people recognize him once he started talking, But I think they knew because I had advertised that, I'll have like the Midnight's Edge guys around me as sort of muscle. So they knew it was going to be one of the Midnight's Edge guys around me. So
The muscle that is Rob.
Yeah, well, and then of course when he speaks, then they're like, oh yeah, it's Rob.
Recognizable.
Yeah.
Of course, everyone recognizes the narrator supreme when they hear him.
Yeah, the person who recognized me was Alan Shore, and he recognized me because of the episode I did in drag for the charity. That's why he recognized me. But he did come up and do my little, good afternoon, good morning, good night, whatever it is, wherever you are, whatever. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, so otherwise nobody recognized me. But Mecha got recognized a lot.
I got something to bring up I forgot about. I got in a little bit of a Twitter spat with one of the, I'm not going to say her name, one of the actresses from Star Trek that were there.
Oh, me too.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it's the same person. No, mine is an actor, so mine's a guy.
Oh, okay. So mine was an actress. I guess because I complained about like their general apathy. Like I've been to a lot of Star Trek conventions. My best one by far was the 50th anniversary one. I think someone else said that too. And the energy was hot. A lot of great. Everybody was in a great mood. Even the promenade, which is basically a swap meet. It was still a swap meet for Star Trek stuff you probably couldn't get somewhere else, not like phone cases and homemade jewelry from Amazon. Well, I complained about a bunch of the actors that were there just didn't really want to be there. It was pretty obvious. And so she was like, why are you lumping me in with everybody else when I put my ass out there for 3 days straight and made sure to shake as many hands and be as friendly to as many people? I want to be clear. I'm not going to say her name, but like I wasn't specifically talking about one person because Anson Mount was actually really cool. But generally, the majority of the people there did seem apathetic. In fact, Ethan, the guy that plays Spock, the new guy.
Yeah, Ethan Peck.
Thank you. Ethan Peck is literally hiding in a makeshift room in the panel, in the main hall. So most of the actors that were there that I spoke to, it was obvious that either maybe it was me. Maybe they just didn't want to speak to me.
Nope.
A lot of them didn't want to speak to anybody. Very apathetic. Didn't really want to be there, and it was a bummer experience. But I wasn't specifically referring to any one person. It was an overall general consensus from when I got there.
Yeah, I mean, some of them were just like overly ecstatic to be there meeting people. But my biggest celebrity run-in was people who have nothing to do with Star Trek, though. So, or very little. So that'll be like for another discussion.
I will say there was a vast difference between the attitude for the people who've done this convention a long time, like the Enterprise, Next Generation people, versus the Discovery people. The Discovery people were really the ones who were kind of like the apathetic, hands off, with the exception of like
Anson Mount was cool. Yeah,
Anson Mount was great. But all the people who do this stuff, like Nicole DeBoer and all the guys from Enterprise and like the people who have done this stuff in the past, they were quite, I felt like good and like personable and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, the older cast, they'll wander around the halls, they'll shake your hand outside the thing, they'll chit chat with you.
They have perspective.
Yeah, because they know this is their job for life. They work twice a year if they want to, and then they get to hang out in Vegas or on a cruise, and that's their job for life. And these new people get it. I think a lot of the newer people, the newer cast, are coming in from being like much more famous than we've had in the past. Because we've had people like Jeffrey Combs who are B-movie actors. We've had a lot of unknowns on Star Trek for a long time, and now we're getting people like Anthony Rapp and Anson Mount. And as much as I love Anson Mount, I can't say a negative thing about him on this. I'm just using him as an example of he was somebody I knew about before Star Trek.
Same here.
And Doug Jones and Wilson Cruz and not Ethan Peck so much, but Jason Isaacs. A lot of these people are people I've heard of before Star Trek.
Yeah.
So. And something else to note, and Brian, you might have noticed this as well, is like in previous years, you had actors from the J.J. Abrams movies kind of make appearances, and that added a lot of energy and excitement to it.
Yeah.
And this year there were no movie actors.
None.
None. Yeah, someone asked me that specifically. They're like, "Hey, were there any of the 2009 actors of the JJ universe?" And I was like, "Nope."
It was a 10-year anniversary too. It was. They even have a banner.
They had banners. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was no presents.
The only reference we saw was we found some of the toys from the JJ movies
Yeah.
in the vendor hall.
Yeah.
And this is where all those that JJ merchandise ended up right here. That we all were wondering where it was, that didn't sell.
Yeah,
It's right here.
I think that's even more proof that Bad Robot has moved away from Star Trek, especially since they just inked this $500 million overall deal with Warner Media.
Oh, yeah.
And moved out of Paramount's office.
Absolutely no interest in Star Trek whatsoever.
No, that's JJ. He'll start something and gone. You are out of his mind and see ya. Good luck. See ya. I destroyed that one. I'm off to go screw up some DC characters, in my opinion, now. But the newer actors, they're young. They're walking around there and they probably look at the older actors and they're like, I don't want to end up like this at convention signing, when they should be grateful to have that job for life. And that's probably their attitude.
I did see one thing from the JJ movies, but it is ironically copyrighted by CBS. And you want to know why that is? We said in one of our videos why that is. It was the Tribble from Into Darkness, and it came with a vial of Khan's blood. And it's copyrighted by CBS because they didn't change the Tribble. Remember, Andre?
Yeah. Right.
Oh, yes, absolutely. That's like the star example.
The $50 Tribble.
Everything from the original Star Trek in this alternate Star Trek, you just can't monetize it.
But I will say that from previous years, like you had actors like Simon Pegg and Carl Urban and stuff like that. And these guys were super cool. They were very personable. They were very happy to be at the convention. And now that Star Trek movies are basically over and they're not pulling them into these cons anymore, it just feels like something's not quite as cool, or something's missing, because these guys just kind of moved on with their careers and stuff like that. And now they're trying to pass the torch to the Kurtzman era. And, we've all seen the result of, Discovery so far. So it's just, there was something, I think that was one of the reasons why this year was also disappointing, was like, there was just a lack of excitement from the people who are usually there, and so missing out on the movie stars from the Trek movies was a big deal.
Well, if I may interject there a thing real quick, I think it also has something to do with just how bad a state Star Trek is in right now. Because if you look at it, the movies are dead. Of course, I think there's going to be a new movie, pretty soon after the re-merger of Viacom and CBS goes through, but we're not there yet. As of right now, there's no movie on the horizon. You have Star Trek Discovery, and you can kind of tell from the attendance there that, no, it really didn't bring in any new people. And then, of course, you have the Picard series, which is kind of a Hail Mary in many ways, because the Star Trek brand is right now in one of the worst places that it's ever been.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that absolutely has something to do with both the depression there, or I was going to say depression because I wasn't there, but I get the impression at least that the enthusiasm just wasn't there. There's no reason to bring in any of the movie actors, because that's just a further reminder that the movies are done.
Well, Andre, do you know if maybe when the movies were being made, if the actors had it in their contract that they actually had to attend these conventions?
No, there was no such thing in their contract.
Okay.
The ones that chose to do so, they do so out of their own free will. Like, for instance, Carl Urban, he's been in plenty of conventions. That was actually the biggest reason why I went to Destination Star Trek Europe in Frankfurt, Germany, because Carl Urban was there. I needed him to sign some Judge Dredd stuff for me. But he's really cool, by the way.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, he's awesome. Other than that, there's very, very few of the people associated with the movies that have attended the convention circuit, because no, it is not part of their contract.
Right. Have you seen The Boys yet, Andre?
I haven't. It's on my list of things to do, but I just haven't had the time for it.
Great show.
I'm really looking forward to it because I'm a huge fan of Garth Ennis. He's one of my favorite comic writers of all time. He obviously wrote The Boys, so I'm really looking forward to it. And
Carl Urban is fantastic.
Carl Urban is great in everything.
Everything, yeah. But this show it's special. I was told to watch it, and I was reluctantly watched it actually during the Star Trek convention. And it's freaking awesome.
It's
trying to curse, but
it's really, really good. It's messed up on all the right levels.
Yeah.
No.
Oh yeah.
Only goes to show that they've done Garth Ennis right.
And don't forget Derek Robertson. Let's not forget Derek Robertson, who just so happens to be my friend, but he's also the co-creator of that book. The comic series is wonderful. If you want something a little different, Andre, I love Garth too. And I think Garth and Derek are a perfect marriage. His art just goes with his writing perfectly. And it's a fantastic series. The show, I'm torn on the show because I read the comics first. I'm a bit of a fundamentalist when it comes to the canon. I don't know how far you guys got in the comics, but if you get to issue 23, look at the first 2 pages. You might recognize somebody.
Well, the interesting thing about the show is that it's being head written by Eric Kripke, who's the guy behind Supernatural, which is its own monolith of fandom. So this is like his new series, and you can definitely tell that there's some influence there for Eric Kripke.
Definitely better than most of the television that's out right now. Like 99% of it. Like for sure.
Really look forward to seeing it.
And the most watched thing on Amazon. That was just
I read that. That's pretty cool. I hope it's good, and I hope it's going to set a good precedent, because I'm not happy with what Jennifer Salk has been doing over at Amazon so far. So hopefully a badass series like The Boys is gonna.
At least they didn't hire At least they didn't hire those guys to run Lord of the Rings.
Oh boy, they got problems with that. That's a conversation for another day.
Yeah, I'll be very happy to have another live discussion on that on Amazon, and I'll never forgive them for canceling Conan. But
or The Tick.
The
Tick was great.
Tick was brilliant, and I'm right there with you, Andre. I was pissed about that.
Yeah,
and, the reasons behind it are even dumber. So,
yeah, well, you know what the reasons are, of course. So, yeah, I'd be very happy to discuss all that in a later video. But let's get back to Star Trek, which is what we're here for right now. But just to summarize that, no, there's not part of any contract that they have to do any convention circuit. That's voluntary extra. But I'm curious, since you that were there, obviously this then is a very mixed convention, but it seems like you had some good stuff. What other fun stories do you have? Like, did anyone recognize you? Like, for instance, we're all pretty notorious in Star Trek circles. Did you notice any of that when you were there?
I had one person. One person bought me a drink.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was it.
I recognized Gary, and I bought him a coffee.
Thanks.
I recognized Mecha. I was actually leaving the promenade, and I saw the brightest head of red hair I've ever seen in my life from like the distance. It was like way in the distance, and I see this little red blob, and I'm like, oh I better go that way, because I'm pretty sure that's Mecha. No one has red hair like that.
Yeah, I was the only person there with the hair this bright. And I got recognized a ton. The first night, Tom and I were there before Robb showed up. So Tom and I were there walking through, just kind of, they had like a little bar near where like his room was, and there was all the little Trek people that I recognized, some of them from Twitter, who have kind of given me crap. So we looked down on them, and we were kind of like Quark or like Rom and Nog actually up there looking down at the promenade below at all these little Trek people doing their little thing. And we did end up walking right through them. And I walked through them, and I'm like, you know who I am? I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, you guys know exactly who I am. I looked down my nose at all of them, because, and for the most part, they left us alone then, because I'm like, no, I'm here. And if you're going to mess with me, you're going to get thrown out. And that's kind of like the vibe I was giving them. And so, no, we had a lot of, the only interactions with people were positive, who recognized me. So that was really awesome. Except for maybe, Mary Chifo, who kind of shot daggers out of her eyes at us, but
I think the funniest thing I saw all weekend was at the Millennium Fandom Bar when Tom and Jesse Milestone were doing competing live streams where they were literally pointing their phones at each other, live streaming at the same time.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Oh, I was streaming my myself from that too. I was streaming a little bit of it, but yeah.
Oh, you mean stop streaming at me? No, you're streaming at me. I'm streaming at you. You quit streaming at me. Yeah,
like a stream inception.
And yeah, Zabe mentioned that I was streaming from the convention. I ran across Trek Yards.
Yeah.
And we were both streaming. Yeah. So I was at Comic-Con 2 weeks before when all the good stuff was announced at Star Trek. And I was with Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers. So everybody was like, that dude was a rock star. He was getting pulled up like aside every 5 minutes. Like I was holding cameras and taking pictures and holding his bags and stuff. But I know what it felt like to be Jeremy. I was late to everything because I was getting pulled aside, and I was getting pulled aside by people with disco shirts on, which was the most impressive. And and they were telling me that they all watch our videos. They understand. So even people who like the show, and I was asked to go softer on it by a lot of people, but they understood what I said. I didn't get any negativity at all. People go, what you're saying is not wrong. And again, what was brought up in the chat is, I attack the content of the show. That's it. The writing, the person's writing. I'm not a fan of Alex Kurtzman's writing. I don't know the guy as a person. I don't care, but I'm not. He's done some weird things to us, but that's fine. I don't care. That's part of the gig. But then I got pulled aside by Harry Judge. So he was I pulled him up on IMDb. He was in a short Trek. And we had and I was walking by him, and he had like a little signing thing, little desk there inside the con. And he's all, Gary from Nerdrotic. I'm all, whoa, I see he was an actor in the show. He pulled me aside, and we had the best conversation. So he was just an actor. He's a semi-fan of the show. He was just an actor. He did his audition over video, and so he wanted to know what the fandom thought. So he went out and looked at people who agreed with the show and people. He watched your guys' videos, Midnight Zed videos, my videos, and he found me from Game of Thrones. He wanted to talk about Game of Thrones too, which was funny. But he said, "Listen, we understand what you're saying. We get what you're saying." And he was trying to tell me there's a lot of people behind the scenes who want to make this right, who want to make Star Trek good, maybe insinuating, he didn't come out and say anything, I don't want to get him in trouble, but maybe insinuating that there's forces against that, which is pretty obvious. I think we can all tell that there might be some division within this, but there is a set of people working on the show that are trying to make it right. Maybe they're just failing, and that's fine, whatever. But it was very encouraging to hear. And that's one of two actors, one actor I cannot mention from the show, who pulled me aside and said essentially the same thing. And that was the trippiest part about this, was walking around this convention, and I was walking around with the Justice and Us shirt. I got some dirty looks for that. I did. So what?
I'm sure.
That was the whole intention of it. I went and got all my pictures taken with my Justice for a Nos shirt. By the way, thanks, man. You freaking rock that shirt out. We need to talk about that. We need to talk more about that. But it was amazing. It was nothing but positive, even from the disco fans. And it was, and hearing from them that they know that we love Star Trek. Like, we don't hate Star Trek. Mecha doesn't hate Star Trek. Tom, Andre, hearing that they understand that we love Star Trek was very encouraging. So even from the people who don't agree with us all, and that's what they started out. It's like, hey, I like your stuff, but I don't agree with you all the time. And that's like, hey, it's great. That's fine. But that was the best part, meeting, you guys here in the panel, and then talking to the fans, and that's what made it a really good experience and worth the money, worth every penny, meeting you guys.
Yeah. All $2,000.
Oh yeah, 2,000. I brought my family. Oh yeah,
I brought my family too, but I only spent I spent just under $2,000. But I drove. I guess you drove too, huh? Yeah.
I flew. I spent $4,000.
Oh wow, yeah, I drove from Orange County.
Oh yeah,
I had to fly my oldest son out and his friend so he could watch my younger son while Melissa and I went to events. My younger son, special needs, he could probably be by himself. It's fine, but it's just good to have his big bro there. And then he took him around. And there's the reason I stayed in the crappy Excalibur is they actually have one of the best arcades. They have like a little dungeon arcade for kids. That's why I stayed at that god awful place. But
dude, I almost stayed at Circus, and I got there. I got to Circus because I brought my kids with me too, and I'm like, oh, well, it's a kids thing, right? I'll just drive to the convention every day. And the very first thing I was met with was some drunk guy throwing up at the entrance of Circus, and I literally turned around and said, "Get back in the car," and drove straight to the Rio, dude. It was
you would have smelled it if you had gone in, because Circus has a smell. Last time I was there, they have like this moldy, mildewy smell, like wet.
They do. That's real. That's real.
God.
No, next year I'll definitely stay in the Rio. I like being on the Strip, but it was a pain in the ass. I'm going to stay in the Rio if they do it there next year.
Oh,
That's
right?
where it always is. It's
The
set
Rio
up
was
for it.
nice. Yeah. Good blackjack tables.
It's been at the Rio ever since the Hilton shut down. So
it's not a bad hotel. Like, the hotel was fine. The hotel was great. Everything's so far. You want to if you get your tickets, get it in the tower next to the convention. Get it in that Ipanema tower.
The
so you don't have to
Masquerade.
walk so much, because the Masquerade Tower is like way the crap on the other side.
Right.
And that's where like that presidential, like the Rob Tom room was, the presidential suite.
Midnight's Edge.
The Midnight's Edge
That
presidential
was a nice
suite.
room. That was a nice room. Well done, Andre.
Yeah, I was in like the tower next to the con.
You guys were balling.
Yeah, the rooms are really big though at the Rio. I mean, like really.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
it
a
used to be
super
an
chat.
all-suite hotel. So
Anybody's got a super chat from Vic Mignogna? Unhinged Crank, $2. Who met Vic Mignogna there?
I did.
We did, yeah.
We've got a screenshot. There's a story. So there's a little bit of a story. We saw him walking around on what was a Friday, and we didn't want to say hi to him. I didn't want to bother him. But then one of our friends, Jesse Miller, actually, we were at lunch with Clint Howard this day. We were there at lunch with Clint Howard, and Jesse Miller went out to get a cigarette, and he's like, "Hey, my friend's a big fan of yours, Vic, and she's out at lunch. She's got bright red hair, and she's having lunch with Clint Howard. You can't miss her." So he came in and talked to us for a couple of minutes, and he was the nicest, sweetest guy. So absolutely lovely. Give him a big hug. Give him a big hug the next day too. So we got to meet Vic.
Yeah. The next day he was dressed as Kirk from the episode The Romulan Incident, carrying a cloaking. And so we pulled him aside and said, and he's like, "Hey, you're not talking to me?" I'm like, he seems like such a cool guy.
Yeah, because I don't like it. Because he's one of those guys who gets mobbed everywhere, like at anime conventions. Because one of his main jobs and what he's famous for is being a voice actor for anime. But I know him from Star Trek Continues, so and if you guys are Star Trek fans, watch Star Trek Continues. It's really good.
It's great.
It's so good.
I met the Continues guy. I met the guy who started the Star Trek Continues thing at the Orville Experience. I think you were there. You were there, Gary. I don't know if you met that guy, the tall dude. He was dressed up in like a Starfleet outfit.
I saw him. No, I met one of the actresses from it. I was standing right next to you. It was I forgot. She's blonde. She's hosting a podcast.
Oh yeah, she had the earpiece thing.
Yeah. That was cool.
I got a picture of her having a deep conversation with a Mocklin. That was fascinating.
Yeah, when the Mocklin showed up, that was cool as hell.
Yeah,
I got a story about Peter Capaldi. People was talking about Capaldi and how the Discovery actors were kind of not there on the floor. Peter Capaldi, when he was the Doctor, went to Comic-Con 3 or 4 years ago, went down on the floor in costume and shook everybody's hands, took a picture, kissed babies like he was a president. It was brilliant. That's how you work a crowd.
Hell yeah.
And I was always kind of Capaldi. No, I love him for that. That's why I will eternally love that guy. And he was a huge star. He was a rock star. And that's what you need to do. And, Star Trek Discovery could have done so much more to win over fandom. And they wanted to talk about themselves and their wokeness. And instead of like going out and shaking hands, kissing babies, and doing what you have to do to win fans over. And it looked like they're just kind of, that's why, I don't know. I just don't see this show running 5 years. It could, I don't know. I just don't see it. Especially if Picard's a success.
I will say this though, even though they've made their mistakes, they haven't done the Star Wars thing where they've actually actively attacked fans, where people who disagree with them, where they're like,
Wilson Cruz has.
Yeah, Wilson
Yeah,
Cruz.
well,
Yeah, Wilson Cruz has.
Yeah, but
some
no.
of them.
Well,
Jason Isaacs too.
Jason Isaacs.
Oh, Jason
and-
Isaacs. Before the
okay.
show even aired. You guys remember that? Before the show even aired, he was
Yeah.
backing fans.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was.
He's
Yeah,
like, I
but-
dare you not to watch.
But it
And
wasn't
then-
coming from the executives and the creators and stuff like that, like we've seen with
That's
Lucasfilm.
No,
That's true.
No,
No,
not from
no.
writers and stuff. No.
I'm just waiting
No,
for
it's
Alex
the
Kurtzman to flip off the fans. I mean, it's going to happen
I
eventually.
don't think he will. He doesn't seem like the type. He really doesn't seem like the type who would. Neither does Michelle Paradise. I don't think any of the people who are making Star Trek are going in to say, how can we piss off the Star Trek fans today? I think they are genuinely going in wanting to make something that people watch. And what I kind of am seeing is that I think they have a specific demographic of people who like Discovery, and they don't want to lose those people. And that's why they're bringing in all these other shows. But their Discovery, one thing we got was they're confirming it's going to be a hybrid, or no, that's Picard. They're going to continue with all the same. They're going to be more of the same. Michael Burnham's the same. The main character, the lower deck, or the bridge crew are all bridge crew. They're like nothing. So Discovery isn't really going to change. Discovery isn't really going to improve at all for season 3.
Well, it's in the
And
future, though,
They
Mecha.
wanna- yeah, I know, and they don't want to get rid of. Well, and they pretty much said flat out, no, it's not going to be any different than the type of show we've already had. It's just this is going to solve the canonical problems
Right.
in their
right.
mind. So they
Which,
I don't think they genuinely.
Half of my problem with the show is the canonical problems.
Yeah, that's part of. I can overlook the canonical stuff if the writing was good, though. For me, it's like
That's
you gotta
true.
have the good writing
That's
and
true.
not have this main character in every single thing telling and being so condescending. And that's another thing with a lot of the cast. Like some of the cast, they just feel so condescending and combative against viewers. You know, like Mary Chieffo with her diversity stuff, she just seems so combative and aggressive coming out. And now she's playing a Klingon, so of course they would get like an aggressive, strong personality type of woman to play a Klingon, but she just comes across as they come across so preachy and so condescending. Like, you are wrong because you like this, and this. You need to be better, is the message. Oh, you need to be better. None of this, hey, we love you because you're a fan. And I want to hear we love you because you're a fan, regardless of, and I don't want to hear this, oh, you voted for this way or that way. It's like, actually, no, I didn't.
Yeah,
You
who
need to do
cares?
this about gun control. Actually, I'm on your side. I don't want to hear it here. You're not representative of gay people. Actually, I'm LGBT myself. They don't hear what we're saying. And they just want to preach and be combative and aggressive. And that's the same type of message on Twitter. It's that NPC mentality that I see all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
I
Who
don't.
cares about any of that stuff? Like,
I
we're
don't
here to watch
either.
Star
I don't
Trek.
either.
Yeah.
I don't either. And at least
I
Mary
don't
Weissman,
think-
I have to make a point to say she did not get political or anything on the panel. I saw her. Doug Jones seemed amazing. He did not get political. He even
Yeah,
tried
Doug
to steer
Jones
back to entertainment. Doug Jones seems amazing. Shazad Latif stayed in the entertainment stuff. He didn't get preachy about anything. So and of course all of the bridge crew were wonderful and amazing. Yeah, so I do want to point out the good people too from Discovery. I don't want to just lump all of the Discovery cast together for what 3 of them said or 4 of them said. But
It is interesting to note that after Harberts and Berg exited and Kurtzman has kind of come in to take things over, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I've seen like a big shift away from like straight up like political attacks in terms of like the production crew. Because I remember when Discovery was getting ready to premiere, there was all this stuff about how Klingons are like an allegory for Trump supporters and all this other stuff. And ever since Kurtzman has kind of come in and actually taken an active role in steering the ship, a lot of that stuff has gone away. And so like I found that kind of interesting, where a lot of the political stances you're seeing come from the actors, and that's just actors being actors, but the people who are actually creating the show, running the show, even though they may still have their political biases and beliefs and whatnot, they're not out there.
Correct a little bit there. Kurtzman, he's pretty gung-ho about the politics, and he's very, very left. And
I'm not saying he's not. I just haven't seen a lot of articles kind of like when Discovery was getting ready to premiere. I haven't seen a lot of things that have been coming out of the production that are specifically like targeting people who have differing political beliefs. In fact, even at the convention, when Jason Isaacs was up on stage, and he is not ashamed, he is not shy about sharing his political views. Even people there who didn't agree with him, there was a certain civility there that can only exist among Star Trek fans, because Star Trek fans are some of the best fans on the planet. So I just find it interesting that ever since Harbitz and Berg were kind of like pushed to the side, and Kurtzman kind of came in and took the reins. That we haven't seen a whole lot of that in the press, even though like I said, they probably still have their biases and their beliefs, but they're not pushing it on anyone. They're not out there preaching about it. They've kind of said like, okay, let's just focus on the show as opposed to the messaging.
They've toned down a little bit, but the thing is, that Alex Kurtzman is not the one responsible for that, because there two things happened at the same time. Because there's someone higher up were the ones that basically said that, okay, these guys have got to go. Alex Kurtzman, you're it, and remove the political stuff. So that was something that came from higher up. That at least is what I have been told. The same people that basically gave the order, unfuck this mess, were the ones that said, stop ragging on Trump supporters this way. Alex Kurtzman, in private interviews with him, yes, even I don't remember exactly his words. Basically, he was referring to Trump supporters, basically saying that he doesn't want any of them to see Discovery. He wants only the echo chamber of the people that already agree with him to see Discovery. So he couldn't do it on screen, but he was very happy to put his personal politics on the sleeve off screen when talking to the camera. So he's not responsible for it, but it happened on his watch. When he got elevated to showrunner, yes, then that got toned down. But again, that was higher up instruction, not
that
something
seems like bad business to alienate, half the country or so by saying, we don't want you watching our show.
Yeah, it is. It's what's killing comic books. It's what's killing a lot of the entertainment. It's going to probably kill the MCU, in my opinion. But no, you cannot go around insulting half of your fan base based on, and the other half that agrees with you. Out of them, like people like me, I don't want to hear half of the audience being bashed by the producers, because you're going to have people who disagree with you. That's not what Star Trek was. Star Trek was always about finding the compromises. It's about finding a way to work together, and sometimes you don't agree. And when the Orville's doing storylines like that and knocking them out of the park, like look at what happens with the female Mocklin stuff at the season 2. They're knocking those storylines out of the park without being preachy, without preaching one way or another. At least not like Star Trek Discovery. It's like, I don't want to hear this crap. I don't want to hear you just bashing your fans. And I don't want to hear this bleak, dark, everybody's at each other's throats crap. I get enough of that on Twitter. I don't want to see it in Star Trek, which is supposed to be my escape from that.
Yeah, right. It's supposed to have that ideal, and they're watching and taking it to heart, though. The creatives from the show. That's again, that's a takeaway I got from San Diego Comic-Con. That's a takeaway I got from Star Trek Las Vegas. Is there are factions. There is growing numbers of people who have always felt that way. Like they don't want to alienate half their fan base, and they see the problem with this, but they are afraid to say something out loud so they won't lose. Excuse me. They won't get blackballed from their job for saying, hey, can we just tone this down a little bit? It was good to hear that Doug Jones did that. And I tell you what, Doug Jones is like one of the best people out there. I could never say anything about that. Guy's been doing cons forever. I met him when he was Silver Surfer for Fantastic Four. Nicest guy in the world. And we need so much more of that. And that's all any of us have ever been saying. Like, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn here, but that's all we've ever been saying is I don't know anything about politics. I don't care. I just don't want to hear it in Doctor Who or Star Trek.
Yeah, right. And that's kind of why I stopped listening to a lot of stand-up comics I liked, because they were a little too. It's like, okay, I don't want to hear this right now. Just tell me a joke about, Yeah.
And as an outside observer, because again, to the more perceptive of you, which may have realized I'm not an American. So
what?
I'm just an observer looking in. And I'm going to disagree that they're pissing off half the audience. They're pissing off 60 to 70% of the audience.
I agree.
Richard, Andre.
I agree.
Because the thing is that the party line isn't a 50-50% split. It's actually a third. It's 1/3 that's very strongly conservative, and then you have 1/3 that's very strongly liberal, then you have 1/3 that's somewhere in the middle in between, and these are the ones that solve the election and everything like that. Now the thing that happens is that when you go so preachy, you go so extreme left, what happens is that of course the 30% that already fundamentally agree with you, they're probably going to be happy because they have their beliefs validated. But the 30% on the other side, they will be anything but happy. But
Right.
also the 30% in the middle, and that's the majority.
Yeah.
That's why Trump is going to be elected again. Like,
Right.
count on it.
No, I agree with you
Oh, yeah,
totally.
probably. Yeah.
Oh my God,
so.
I agree with you
I
100%.
think so. There's so many people I hear who are like, yeah, I used to be liberal, but fuck this, to paraphrase. Why are they, they're just pushing me to the other side, I hear from all kinds of people. I'm like, yeah, I get it.
Oh yeah.
I see why
You guys know who Dave Cullen is? Dave
Yep.
Cullen?
Oh yeah.
He just did a video where he showed like the DNC meeting, whatever it's called. And they were like, everybody that spoke would get up and start pronouncing their pronouns immediately. And
No, they're when they would get up, they would go point of personal privilege.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And Dave Cullen was
Can I-
like, what you're hearing right now is Donald Trump being elected again.
That was the
now.
National Socialist Convention, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
it's insane.
the nationalist Hollywood. You succeeded in getting him reelected. Alex Kurtzman, Kathleen Kennedy, Chris Chibnall over there in the UK. Good job,
Good job,
well
guys.
done.
Congratulations.
It's just like when your teenage daughter brings home a guy who looks like she grabbed him out of the gutter or something, and you protest. Well, what's she going to do? She's going to marry that guy, right? Just to
Like
report this
Mrs. Nerdrotic did.
Right.
Exactly.
that would-
Obviously. Yeah.
Yes, obviously.
The reason my wife married me. Yeah.
Yeah.
but
I
no,
have to
I'm
say
a rebel,
one thing,
Dottie.
though.
yeah.
I have to say one thing about those uber liberal SJW at that social democratic whatever thing it was, because I don't want to get too political here, but I have to say one thing which I think is important. It's very easy to laugh at those people and their pronouns and their privilege and all of that,
Point of privilege.
but really, it's not a laughing matter. You should look at that and you should be scared shitless.
True.
Yep.
Because those people, they're not many, but they're growing in numbers, and they're many enough to
And they're
cause
loud.
some serious freaking disruption.
Yeah.
Well, look,
And
look
they
what
may-
they've done to
They may
entertainment.
consider themselves liberal and all of that, but what they are, because in Europe, where I'm from, we have some pretty broken history and checkered history where it comes to fascism and stuff like that. What those people are, ideology is completely different, but spiritually, in terms of, ignore words like fascism because that means something else. That's very specific to Italy. But those people are totalitarians.
Woo.
They are the spiritual heirs of the neo-Nazis. And by neo-Nazis, I don't mean like organized people. I mean like skinheads and stuff like that were just stupid kids that Hitler, if he had seen them, he would have puked if he had looked at them. But basically, they were totalitarians. And these people are exactly the same thing. They are totalitarians. And they're coming for your freedom.
It was
Reach it, Andre.
There was an interesting thing at some of the panels where when people would get up to ask questions, they'd sort of make comments. And people, I think, by and large, agree that like Star Trek, quote unquote, has always been political. But it was used, they used Star Trek and the science fiction universe they created as an allegory to explore some of these like more controversial political and social issues. And they did it in a very smart way without being preachy. And I think one of the biggest problems with modern Star Trek and modern Hollywood in general is just that they feel like they need to push an agenda and be preachy and hit you over the head with it. Whereas if they were like a little bit more subtle or a little bit more kind of middle of the ground, like the Orville is, showing both sides of an argument as opposed to coming down on one side. Like the best example of this is the mansplaining in season 2 premiere. It's just like it couldn't have gotten more blatant than that. But I think a lot of Star Trek fandom in general, they're cool with having politics in Star Trek, but they don't want it to be preachy.
Yeah, but the people who are saying Star Trek's always been political are being disingenuous. Okay, because
They are. It's
It's
never been like
okay.
this.
Because do you want me to like label it out? Because when I say political, I mean they are being very leftist partisan.
Right.
They are being very leftist partisan, which Star Trek has always been somewhat leftist, but it hasn't been partisan. Never in the past, because you know what? Because I'm a centrist and I've never been offended by anything I've ever seen in Star Trek.
Same.
My politics have not changed in the last 5 years,
Same.
but Star Trek's have.
Yeah,
So
same
when the
here.
people bring that up, you're just being disingenuous. Don't even state that anymore. I've been hearing it for 2 years on my channel. It's driving me crazy. You're not being honest when you say that.
You're not being
The
honest.
thing that Star Trek has always been is humanist and rational.
Yes.
Those are the two things.
Jesus.
And sometimes, depending on how like the political party swings or how like the winds flow, sometimes there's going to be some conservative talking points in Star Trek because they make common sense. Other times it's going to be liberal. Right now, Star Trek, like so many other things, has been hijacked. There's no more humanism. There is no more common sense. Right now, it's ideology being pushed.
Yep.
Yeah, nobody works together to solve any problems based on their differences. There's no compromise. There's no tough choices like, hey, we got a rock and a hard place. What's gonna be the best thing for both sides to come together on? How do we solve this impossible solution? They don't have that. It's all just, I love you so much, Astra. I love you so much. And
so magical. I love you.
Magical.
You know,
Science.
the Orville About a Girl is the best example of a great Star Trek, modern Star Trek show that wasn't in Star Trek. That covers every issue.
I will
multiple layers.
I will up you one thing there. Also in the Orville, the season 1 episode of the Court of Public Opinion.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Ooh, the Reddit episode.
That hit.
Best TV as the best Star Trek that's been since the Next Generation, because what that was pure Star Trek. That episode did what the original series did. It did what the Next Generation did. It put humanism and common sense first at the same time.
Yep.
And it basically just gave a kick towards Discovery, because Discovery is the representative of that most messed up society.
Well, okay. Well, first of all, $5 super chat from Unhinged Crank. The original point of Star Trek was for all sides to listen to each other, not echo chambers. The social commentary was for all sides.
Exactly.
One of the things is that the best plots of many Star Trek episodes have been political. The Drumhead, Patterns of Force, A Private Little War. But at the same time, you address those things in an intelligent manner so that, and you don't beat people that this is what you have to believe. You know, you
I'm turning to Redcroft for that.
yeah, you address it in such a manner that so you make people think. And Patterns of Force is a great example because it's clearly about the Vietnam War. The Omega Glory also was another one, another great episode. But you address it in such a manner so that people who may not be familiar with it or may disagree will say, you know what, I was just watching Star Trek the other night and they did a similar, and that's when you know your message has landed.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not doing that. All they think they do, well, let's tell people how horrible human beings they are, and then we will tell, and then they will see the light. Nope, they're not going to. They're going to
That's not how it works.
No, we're going to rebel.
Didn't you always, as a kid, resent being told what to think?
Yes.
Yes.
I hate being told what to think or do. I still do, you know. Too much.
I'm allergic to it.
Yeah.
Probably my disadvantage, too.
That's why I'm on YouTube.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I keep saying, and one of the things I always say, I don't like the term social justice warriors because social justice is not necessarily a bad thing. Okay. Hey, equal pay for equal work. Great. You know, giving people the freedom to do whatever they want with their reproductive systems. Oh, more power to you, man.
Yeah.
You know, voting rights. Yeah. Healthcare.
Absolutely.
Fuck yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole thing is, like I said, it's not about. This is not the current movements are not about trying to build anything new. The Me Too and stuff, they're about trying to tear things down, tearing down the patriarchy, tearing down, sexism, whatever it is. They are trying to preach. They're trying to lecture. And that's the thing what Star Trek Discovery has been trying to do. They're trying to lecture people saying, you this is what we believe. If you don't believe the same thing, then you're a fascist.
You're a heretic and a non-believer. Anything center and right, I won't say the term to get you demonetized, but you're the boogeyman. You're the boogeyman. You're the evil person. We're gonna unperson you because you're so evil. So you're not
#canceled.
Yeah. Your opinion doesn't even matter because you're evil. You're inherently evil, and it's dogmatic, weirdly religious
ideology. Rob, you said it, man. Instead of building up, it's all about tearing down.
Look at somebody like Stephen Colbert. I don't care what you think about Stephen Colbert, but even he was victim of this. I did the hashtag. He did that one joke about where he impersonated, did a Chinese voice, an Asian voice, and all of a sudden he had the hashtag cancel Colbert. They tried to take him down. Somebody Huey, I can't remember what her name, Huey Park, I don't remember what her name is, but she started she's hashtag activist. Yeah. And that's the whole thing. This Star Trek Discovery is now made for the hashtag activists who don't even watch the show, but they recirculate these things on Twitter. I call them the Twitterati. People don't watch the show. They don't watch the show. They don't spend money on merchandise. They weren't going to Star Trek Las Vegas.
Obviously they weren't there.
There was like 5 or 6. I heard every time they're like LGBT rights, woo! Over in the over the corner, there was like like 3 of them, 3 to 5 cheering.
Woo!
And they're all in one little group together. They're all sitting together. They were all left of us. But
I like how they hired the same cosplayers that they hired at San Diego Comic-Con.
Oh,
I saw them all there. Yeah, they were the exact same cosplayers.
Yes, I actually talked to one of the Orion slave girls.
Oh, the one whatever her name, the gold bikini and the fan dress.
Yes, yeah. I talked to her. I was like, "Didn't I see you in San Diego?" And she was like, "Oh yeah, I was there too."
Yeah, they're professional cosplay models. Like the one.
I knew it. I knew it.
Yeah, the one girl who does Uhura, she's a professional. I see her every year on.
Oh, yes, she's fantastic.
Yeah, that girl's gorgeous, and she also had a 709 costume.
Dude, I knew it. I was like, these are not Star Trek fans. They're way too good looking. Okay, look at me and look at them.
Look at me.
Yeah, they're professionals. That's no way they're real fans.
Speak for yourself. They're the ones they hire for the photo shoots to promote it for next year. So they'll be on the sizzle reel for next year.
Yeah, they'll be in the sizzle reel. Yeah, they're gonna avoid us. So the camera's just away from us.
Well, yeah, I mean, no, they were perfectly nice. I mean, like the one girl who cosplays as Uhura, we saw her around a few times. She smiles at you and she's friendly and she nods and But yeah, they're busy. Their job is to take pictures.
Smile and nod.
Orion slave girl was very nice, but she would not let me film her.
No.
She told me to turn my camera off.
What CHF?
She's a showgirl on the strip in front of the fountains.
Yeah, that was
the lows actually.
Brian cosplays not consent, buddy.
Yeah,
apparently not. I wasn't following her around. Okay, come on.
Well, yeah, one day we were just not even doing Star Trek stuff. I had the camera facing me, the Bellagio's behind me. I was doing a stream from the fountains, and
please don't film me. Please don't film me.
No. First she said, "Do you take my picture? Take my picture. You want to take a picture?" I'm like, "No, whatever." And she's like, "Don't film me. Don't film me." I'm not. It's pointing behind me. You're not interesting.
Don't stand in public. Yeah.
Don't stand in public and walk in front of me. I'm like, no, I don't want the scam. It's I don't want a picture scam because it is. They come up and they say, "Hey, take my picture," and then that's $5. Like, no, I'm not paying you. So I'm like, no, I don't want I don't want to do the photo scam. And then she comes up and spits at me. I'm like, it spits on me, like right on my stream. It's still
what? Yeah, that's like the selfie version of "Let me wash your windows."
Yeah,
the same thing.
Well,
so what am I gonna do? Like go and beat her ass in Vegas? Like,
yes,
on stream.
I mean, no,
I know.
On stream.
Well, we have a 5. I believe it's a 5 Swiss francs super chat. Thanks, guys. Always love hearing your comments. Not usually on my hours here in Switzerland. And sorry you had to suffer STDs. So thank you, Jason Gallagher. Thank you very much.
Anybody else have an issue with the disco shirts? Why is the disco so high on the shirt? It's. I know I have OCD about this, but the disco is like all the way up near the neck, dude.
No,
like,
it's perfect because it makes room for the sucks right under it.
Oh,
I know. I really wanted to wear something that said disco sucks.
Yeah.
I knew
just right sucks underneath it. It is really high on the shirt.
I did a Death Before Disco shirt, and it got flagged on Teespring by somebody immediately. And,
Gary, put it on my website. I won't flag you.
Oh, we're gonna talk.
That's great.
I got you.
Yeah, we're gonna do Star Trek Discovery one.
That's a very old shirt, though. Death Before Disco. You know, remember, that was Gary.
I'm
remember
old. I'm old. That's why I remember it.
Me too.
In the Discovery logo or in the font.
Remember,
Because they don't know Disco.
They don't own that font, by the way.
They don't own that font.
Disco
That font is
No.
it's called Micra. It's called
Yeah.
that font is called Micra. I use it on a daily basis. My day job is I'm a designer.
One of the things, though,
You're in a tank top.
one of the things I actually said about the whole thing with the whole disco shirts. I mean, you obviously nobody who writes for Discovery was in the military. Otherwise, they would have the ship's registry number, NCC 1031.
Thank you.
And they would have USS Discovery, and they would have the service number or whatever it is.
They don't know the chain of command on the show and the writing. You know, they just let Michael Burnham do everything.
But
of course, you're right, Rob. I was in the military, and
Yeah.
that information is on your clothing for a reason.
Yeah.
I had Dreckies saying to me, "Oh, why do you have to have someone who was in the military write for Star Trek Discovery? What does it matter? This is a fictional universe. You can do whatever you want." I said, "It matters because it's authentic, you ass.
It's a military vessel. That's why.
Military hierarchy. You just don't. Even the Orville gets it.
Not rocket science.
You have military hierarchy. You adjust people by rank: admiral, captain, commander, lieutenant, ensign, whatever it is.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't just hop over. Admiral Cornwell. You have to state the nature of your visit. You have to request permission to board, and the day officer says, "Welcome aboard." They greet you, "Welcome aboard," and they escort you. There's not even any freaking security on the ship.
I know.
No, telling people to beam a girl into who knows where into space for hours on the short track.
I was never in the military. Even I know this stuff.
Yeah.
Military. All the shows I love are military based, like Star Trek and Stargate. You know, it's all military.
Oh, Stargate was great because it was authentic. Yeah, you brought it up perfect, Rob. We don't just walk into the captain's room and be like, "Hey, Pike, I gotta talk to you for a minute." Like, what the fuck? No, that's not how it works. You got to request permission. Stand at ease.
Yeah, when Burnham talks back to Pike multiple times. It's
That's so frustrating.
It's painful.
Any captain worth their salt would have said, "You're relieved."
Isn't the counterpoint to that, though, that Starfleet's not a military organization?
It's a military organization.
It's a military organization.
They have a military hierarchy.
Always has been. Always will be.
It's like the Navy. It's what it is.
They have weapons on their ship, right?
I agree completely. It's military. They can say what they want, but it's military.
Say whatever you want. It's based on the Navy. It's been based on the Navy for 70 effing years. That's what it is.
Yeah. We got a super chat from the Mexican Iron Man that sent us $14.99. Thank you. And he asks, question for me actually, is the European destination event better than Las Vegas? Should true fans cross the pond, Andre? Well, it's actually hard to say because I've been in the European events, but I haven't been at the Las Vegas, so I can't really compare the two. What I will say is from the description of this, I think the first destination Star Trek in Europe, which had all 5 captains, that probably was better. It certainly sounds like it. For the others, I would say check with the guests, and if there's a convention that you really, really want to go to in Europe, then go to the London Film and Comic Con. If there's one convention to go to in Europe, it's that one. Summer show, London Film and Comic Con.
Also, for the Star Trek Las Vegas, one of the reasons to go to that is to go to Las Vegas because there's lots more stuff to do than just go to the Star Trek convention.
That brings us to the second
Exactly.
question. Will all of you be going again next year to Vegas? I will definitely go to Vegas next year. I don't know if that will be in conjunction with the Star Trek thing yet, but I'll definitely go to Vegas next year.
Yeah, like if you don't go for like the big expensive passes, you can get a day ticket for like $30. So like it doesn't.
Yeah,
have to
don't get the passes. You
It's
don't.
$60,
That was
right?
such a waste.
Yeah,
It's
that
$60
was
for,
tell me 430, and I had 2. So
I got mine
Honestly-
for $30. So
Oh, really? Because mine was, I got 2 day passes. I didn't get the 330. I got Friday and Saturday, and it was like 70 and like 90 or something like that.
you should have talked to me. I'd have hooked you up.
Oh, next time I know. I don't know if I'm gonna go next year, Andre. I don't know, man. I would like to go and see Matt. He's a really cool dude. If you're gonna be there, I might go just to hang out with you guys. But I don't know about the actual convention because
Yeah,
it's
the
just
convention's like
what the F is there to
go.
do? I don't
Exactly. There, if you're
Guys,
going to
guys,
go
tell
and
you
do
what. I'll say
everything,
this right away. That when I go to the States, whenever it is, I'll let you know good times in advance, and we'll have a huge meetup. It'll be the
Yeah.
Midnight Edge party.
I like that.
absolutely.
That
I
works.
like that. It doesn't even have to be around the convention.
No,
I'll
no,
go.
it doesn't have to be
I'm
around
gonna
the
go.
Yeah,
You
Midnight
gotta
Edge
go
will get
for the
one of their
channel.
penthouse suites again.
We'll get a
Party.
better room. We'll get a-
Have you guys
President,
ever been to the
That's a pool
cruise?
party.
What about that Star Trek cruise? Is that any good?
Probably. Well, let's look at the Star Trek cruise.
I mean, it's a cruise. It can't be that bad.
George Takei was talking about that for years. I mean, whenever
Comic-Con,
he would
London Comic-Con's in October too.
go on the Howard Stern show. Yes, I'm going on a Star Trek cruise.
Yes.
Yeah, Star
Oh
Trek.
my.
We have Star Trek conventions that float now.
I can't.
Oh, during my wife's birthday, yeah, I might have to go.
If you ever follow like George Takei on Twitter, man, woo,
Yeah.
this guy's a trip.
It's sold out.
It is
Yep, it's sold
Star
out.
Trek cruise.
the Star Trek cruise.
Yep.
Oh, I was looking at Comic-Con London. That looks good. The Star Trek cruise.
No, the London Comic Con is really freaking good.
That's in October. Like that's
No, it's been. What you want is to show
New York.
the London thing. That's
New York's
amazing.
in October.
Okay,
New
MCN.
York, I
Comic-Con
could just hop
London.
I could just hop on Metro North and be at the Javits Center like within 2 hours. That's
No, this-
the thing.
That's the thing. I could get to like a New York thing. I can get anywhere in the States pretty easily from Denver because it's pretty cheap to travel everywhere in the States.
Yeah, middle of this country. You know why Vegas makes sense? It's like the cheapest place to go from anywhere. Like when you have a large group of people coming from many destinations, Vegas is a good place because half their tickets are subsidized. I hook up with friends that I've been playing with for years on Dota. It's a video game, and we hook up once a year to watch the International. I'm actually going to hook up with them at the end of this month to watch the International, and we actually hook up in Vegas. The International is not in Vegas; it's in China this year.
And if you know someone who lives in Vegas who's got all the hookups, it makes it even more easy and affordable.
Oh, Matt's the hookup.
Just putting that out there, guys.
It's just easier to meet in Vegas because like half their tickets are like subsidized, so every flight to and from Vegas is cheaper than anywhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have an international airport, so people coming from overseas and stuff like that.
I was actually Matt. I was very happy that the old terminal at McCarran still looks exactly the same as it did in Diamonds Are Forever. I was very happy about that.
Yep.
I'm like, this looks really. Yeah, this is it.
Is that? Don't get suckered into the slot machines in the airport though. They don't pay out, man. They don't pay out.
I don't.
You want a
gamble.
good slot machine? You go to Fremont.
Oh yeah,
That's
I
true.
don't gamble. I don't gamble. I hate losing.
Really? That's what I told Matt. I said I'm a degenerate, so I can never live in Las Vegas because I would just be broke in like a month.
That's actually funny because last year I was in Vegas. Then I went not in any kind of official capacity. I went with my friends from here in Norway. So we're a bunch of Norwegians that went to Vegas and then to LA after that. And then when we landed in LA after exactly 24 hours of traveling, that's how long it took. That was pretty exhausting.
Wow.
And then we landed at the McCarran airport or whatever it's called, and we were greeted by slot machines. And we're like, yeah, we're in Vegas. That was pretty cool, actually. We didn't play anything right there, but still I have to say that was the perfect greeting.
Yeah, no, it's a great greeting. Just never play those slots because they purposely don't pay out. Those are the sucker slots. You want to go to like Old Town Fremont Street in Vegas, and that's where you get the best payouts for slots.
Actually, I would say more off strip. You want to go to like the station casinos on the
That's
outside.
true. Station
or
casinos are good too.
Downtown sort of casinos.
But if you want good blackjack, not dollar blackjack, like $5 blackjack with decent dealers on like a 4-deck shoe, I feel like a degenerate right now, but you want to go to Fremont. That's where you can actually count cards. Excuse me, count cards.
They call them advantage players, okay?
Yeah, whatever. It's not illegal, okay? It's just not frowned upon.
Yeah.
Just gotta be subtle about it. That's all.
Yeah, you can't sit there going like 1, 2.
Yeah, outside you're all 1, 2, get your little things crossing out. Now counting out loud. Yeah.
I will say, I think that the biggest disappointment of the convention this year was just that, like, the lack of new news. Like, they blew their load with Comic-Con. There was really nothing to come out that let you know what Picard's going to be like or what the next show on the horizon is going to be. There's nothing interesting.
That was wrong. What they did was dead. I mean, that was terrible what they did to the fandom.
Agreed. 100%.
Horrible.
Someone was like, what are you talking about? They talked about Star Trek Lower Decks. I'm like,
it's a cartoon.
Yeah, it's been $1,000 to talk about a fucking cartoon.
Yeah.
What the hell, dude?
That's gonna, yeah. I mean, like, I don't even know what that's gonna reach. And you know what? Those things are actually pretty expensive to produce, and you can't whoop those things out every year sometimes. And we'll see.
What are we thinking doing a cartoon series when they could just cast it and like make it really low budget? Just do like some low budget thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to look cinematic. It can look.
Look at Red Dwarf. Look like that.
Look like Red Dwarf because that's what they want to make it like. Just make it.
I love that they got the Rick and Morty writer. That's great. I love Rick and Morty, but they could have gotten the writer and just done a live action show though. They didn't have to.
Exactly. They didn't have to do it.
Well, it's not Dan Harmon, so.
No, it's not Dan Harmon. It's one of the. It's not anybody recognized, but he is a writer at Rick and Morty.
The fact that it's animated, though, keeps the price down. They don't have to build sets or costumes or anything.
I think it's more expensive, though. Man.
No, the animation costs a ton of money.
Not the way they're doing it. They're doing it like South Park style in the sense that they're
doing
just
Flash animation.
Yeah, they're creating a bunch of assets that are just simple in After Effects or something. So they can do it really quick and really cheap.
There you go, Star Trek fans.
That's what you get.
There you
cheap
go.
Cartoons.
Good one, and that's the good one.
There you go.
Be the best one.
That's all the information you got.
Well, the
for
other
thousands of dollars you spent to be there.
Yeah, the other information that we got. Well, I got a few things that I'm going to use because some of the actors need the short end of the writing crop. And
is that a writing crop? What the?
Oh, I've got 3.
Of course you do. Of course you have 3 writing crops.
But no, they. So the other stuff that came out of there was Jason Isaacs told an anecdote that he really confirms that they had no idea what was going on with the Lorca character and the Mirror Universe stuff before they filmed, and it looks like they didn't even after, because all of the different scenarios they gave him are exactly kind of how they played out as a whole bunch of loose, like open-ended nothing, you know? You either want to bring Michael Burnham from the Mirror Universe with you to her back. You want to bring her back to the Mirror Universe. You might want to bring your troops back. We don't know. And that's exactly what the anecdote was. And he has this. He's relayed this encounter with Akiva Goldsman, where Akiva Goldsman says, "Yes, we have no effing idea, but we'll know. You know." Once you start filming, and they clearly didn't. So that's one of the things. And of course now Jason Isaacs, apparently since he needs a job, has been backpedaling and made sure to tweet at Akiva Goldsman and at the Star Trek writers room how, oh no, they were a pleasure to work with, they were wonderful. He made sure to retweet me. Then he got snippy with me and told me to get out of his timeline, not knowing how timelines worked. No, this is what you said. We have it audio, those were hard to hear, and we have it transcribed. Yeah, you messed with the wrong harpy there, Jason.
I just did a video.
I think I saw his act. He is a bubble-headed actor. I'm sorry, but I just don't think that. I think he's he says it in his bio. I'm a professional faker and an amateur human. And again, I thank him for his honesty, because I think that was a moment of honesty right there. And yes, he deserves the crop.
Yeah.
Get the crap.
Get the crop.
Actually, I think Lorca might have been my favorite character from season 1. I didn't like season 1, but my favorite character from season 1 was probably Captain Lorca.
I liked Harry Mudd.
Oh, Harry Mudd was good too, but like I guess
I hated him.
My favorite.
I hated him.
I liked the short Trek, but I hated his Trek. I'm like, if this character wasn't Harry Mudd, this would be a great Stargate Atlantis episode.
Well, if he was Star Trek Harry Mudd and not Star Trek Discovery murderous, serial killer Harry Mudd, I might have liked him.
Which one was it where he did like the time thing with the space whale? That was the episode, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I liked that a lot, actually.
I hated it.
I hated the
dumb.
episode, but I liked the short trek with him in it.
I liked the portrayal of the character. I thought Rainn Wilson did a great job.
Yeah, I like Rainn Wilson.
It was a ripoff of the TNG episode Cause and Effect, except they executed a lot worse.
Yeah, it was.
That's all.
You have to understand, though, up until that episode, we have gotten nothing but like just crap and preachy nonsense. And then you give us this, you're like, oh well, this is pretty good in comparison to the rest of the crap.
It's kind of a bottle episode just in the middle of the season, and it was a nice break from the ridiculousness that was going on up to that point.
Yeah, from being beaten on the head with preachy messaging. Yeah. Although a Stargate Atlantis episode, it did feel that way. I like that. That Stargate Atlantis is one of my favorite all-time TV shows.
Oh yeah, great. Jason Momoa before he was called
Jason Momoa, dude. I'm not gay, but I'd let that guy do whatever he wanted to.
Gay.
Yeah. I'm not gay, but if I had a chance with Jason Momoa, I don't know, man. Good looking fella right there, especially an Aquaman. God, I need a minute, guys.
And then, of course, that's one of the reasons why Aquaman made $1 billion. It wasn't the greatest movie, but Jason Momoa was pretty.
Well, don't forget Amber Heard. She was very pretty.
Amber Heard. Oh God. Oh, that whole movie.
Yeah, just don't date her.
Beautiful people.
Yeah, don't date her.
Yeah,
unless you got a couple $100 million to spare.
Or no cell phones in the prenup. It's like you're not allowed to have a cell phone, which is terrible. Do you see what she did to Johnny Depp?
Oh yeah, that's right. Poor Johnny. Although I think they had it coming because he wears too many bracelets.
I heard Amber likes to cut fingers off. Yeah, I think that's what Matt was about to say.
Hashtag justice for Johnny.
Look, no, I just think that he drove her nuts walking around the house making jingling noises every day, 24 hours a day, sleeping with all his bracelets, just looking like a weirdo. The guy went into this weird mode after he did Pirates where he was just always Captain Sparrow.
He's a method actor. That's what he does. You're marrying Johnny Depp. I mean,
the mumbling alone would drive me insane.
Drive me nuts. Mumbling and
there's reasons he moved to France for a few years. You know, it wasn't because he liked France. You guys know any about this? About the Viper Room and his alleged heroin addiction? And
little of it.
Oh, that makes sense. It was less of a method actor thing and more of like he was just
he was just high all the time. Allegedly. I mean, in my opinion, whatever I'm supposed to say to protect everybody here. That was you could attribute that statement to Nerdrotic.
Well, all I know is I like Johnny Depp up until
I'll be a
Pirates of
sponsor.
the Caribbean. And then what happened was he just never left that role. And ever since then, everything he's been in, I've disliked. Even though I liked that initial role. I liked him as Captain Sparrow in the very first Pirates.
Didn't he get nominated for that?
I don't know. He did great, though.
Yeah, he was brilliant in that.
Every movie after that, it's not starring Johnny Depp. It's starring Captain Jack Sparrow. Drove me nuts.
Really bad eggs.
Really bad eggs. Although I saw that vampire one, not as bad as I thought it would be. I'm not gonna lie.
It's man, it's 67, you know, it's Chuck, man, you know, there's no way, man.
That's a good impression.
Dude, you're not even British. What are you talking about?
Hey, Brian,
he's a meth actor. There you go.
Brian, did you get a chance to actually meet the guy who played Spock? I forget the actor's name.
Ethan Peck?
Yeah, Ethan Peck.
Yeah, he kicked me out of the booth because I had my camera on.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah, no, yeah. So I went in there. So at first I peeked my camera in to get a shot of him, and I was kicked out by the security guard that was right there. So I got in line and I waited in line and I was gonna pay like $40 or whatever it was for an autograph, just because I wanted to film him, because I thought maybe they weren't letting me film because I wasn't getting an autograph, right? And I came in with my camera off and I was immediately told to turn my camera off, and I had to hand it to the lady, the security guard lady, when I was talking to Ethan Peck, and it was like really fast. He just sort of signed it and said thanks, and I'm like, it was such a bummer corporate experience. I felt like, what this dude doesn't. He's not an A-list actor. I met him 5 minutes ago, watching Star Trek Discovery season 2, and I didn't even like it that much. Who is this person that he's gonna get this status of protection like he's the goddamn president of the United States? Make no sense.
So we got him at the
He's Pepper
convention.
Spock.
And we got Captain Pike, Anson Mount. Do you guys think that there's going to be a Captain Pike series? Or have they been kind of hinting that might be in the pipeline?
I hope so. I like the Anson Mount.
No, I don't think it will.
Nope.
I don't think because it will have to star a white male in a position of authority.
Ooh, that's a good point. That's a really good point, man. I don't know.
That's why it won't happen.
I mean, I would like to see it happen, but that's a really good point.
Well, but I mean, the Orville's a white male in position of authority.
Yeah.
Seth MacFarlane is that white male.
Yeah,
that makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah,
this is true, but I mean, like they've had a long history.
They had a couple reservations about that, though.
What?
They probably had a couple reservations about that. Are you sure? Can we? No. I'm the starter show. Okay, I guess.
Yeah, I think Seth has a lot of credit in Hollywood that he can play on.
But I mean, like season 2, it wasn't a problem. So why not his own series?
As far as Captain Pike in season 2, he was always getting his authority usurped by Michael Burnham, the Admiral Cornhole. Every opportunity they had to usurp his authority, they could.
Yeah, Rebecca
when his science officer died, he didn't even acknowledge his death in the freaking. It was ridiculous. It was. I love Anson Mount. Hell on Wheels is a great television show. Watch it, people. He is seems like a nice guy.
Watch the first 3 seasons.
It was good.
He did a good job as he could. The writing was so terrible, but he still managed to make a good Pike that I would watch the show written by other people and produced by other people.
Yeah.
But within Star Trek Discovery, it was awful. It was terrible. It was unwatchable at the end. I felt like I was being punished. I felt bad for the guy. I felt sorry for the guy, and I understood why he possibly maybe punched somebody on the set.
What was interesting?
I heard about that.
The fan reaction around Anson Mount, like he was one of the most popular celebrities. Like probably second only to Shatner at the convention, that people really just like they just loved him. And so like it makes me wonder why wouldn't they
agree.
Got the characters, why not give him his own show?
Why not have that? I mean, why not that should take precedent over everything. I agree with you. I mean, like he was that popular within the fandom, even the people who, like myself, who were critical, were saying that like, hey, he's great, but the reason they give it lip service, but that's it. It should be I mean, who cares about a Section 31 show or Lower Decks? Like that's what you should be doing, is a Pike show.
Absolutely.
Right now, people that would with Picard, you would get that would go a long way.
That would be huge.
Making a lot of people happy.
Yeah, I agree.
And they're not doing it, so
they won't do it.
Yep.
No,
exactly. I agree with you, Rob.
I thought they were going to tease that or announce it, and they didn't.
I honestly believe that Alex Kurtzman it's not that he's doing this deliberately. Well, he is doing it deliberately, but hear me out. It's that he really thinks what he's doing is good. It's kind of like the Ed Wood syndrome. Ed Wood thought he was a really good director. He wasn't. He was terrible. Alex Kurtzman has the same affliction. He honestly believes he's brilliant, and everybody's around him saying, "Alex, you're doing a great job. Oh, Alex is so great. He's a virtuoso. He's a wunderkind. He's this and that and the other thing." And behind his back, this guy's a fucking idiot, But so I mean,
but how can you blame him? He keeps getting work. They keep giving him jobs.
He keeps getting what?
I don't know what it's based on, but he keeps getting work.
Early in his career, he was like a golden boy with Orsi. I mean, like when Sleepy Hollow came out, the first season was well liked. It wasn't super successful, but it was well liked. Right. He was coming off of 2009, so I understand why people were taking a chance on him then. Now, I mean, like maybe Matthew, can you explain that? Because I don't know.
Well, so J.J. Abrams was a guy who really pushed them, got them into the right circles and stuff like that. But beyond that, they kind of Kurtzman and Orsi were very good at attaching themselves to huge blockbuster projects like Transformers and a bunch of other stuff that were kind of like blockbusters. And because they had that track record, everyone in Hollywood just was like, okay, well, these guys are golden boys. Everything they touch turns to gold. And they actually had a lot of really successful TV shows for, CBS, like Hawaii Five-0 and stuff like that, which they produced. And then once Orci and Kurtzman split up, Orci just kind of fell off the map because he was originally going to take over the Star Trek franchise from JJ, and he messed it up so bad, along with the guys who are now in charge of the Lord of the Rings show, that Paramount was like, nope, we're kicking you off. And then they brought on Justin Lin. And then Kurtzman went over. First of all, he went to Sony to do Venom, and he got fired or kicked off of that. And then he went over to Universal to handle the Dark Universe, and he directed The Mummy, quote unquote directed. It was actually Tom Cruise who directed it. But The Mummy was such a huge failure that Universal fired him, kicked him off the lot, got rid of all of his planned Dark Universe stuff. And once his deal with Universal fell through, he was like, well, I don't have anywhere else to go, so I'm going to go back to CBS and focus on my TV shows and focus on Star Trek and stuff like that. So that was kind of the long and short of it, was that him and his partner were sponsored by J.J. Abrams. They were attached to a lot of big money-making blockbusters. People just kind of bought the hype, kind of like what happened with Benioff and Weiss with Game of Thrones. Everyone thinks they're a genius, even though they're not. And then once they went off to do their own thing, the cracks in their facade kind of showed. It showed just how bad of writers and producers they really were. And now he's kind of entrenched himself with Star Trek, because that's really the only thing he had left to him at that point. And he's hoping to kind of spin off from that and go forward and try to be another super producer like J.J. Abrams.
And he's had that other success, like you said, with Hawaii Five-0, and that's why they gave him. God, my God, the man who fell to earth. He's going to take on David Bowie property now.
Yeah, he's really got his fingers in a lot of different.
He certainly does.
So like he's trying to kind of be that J.J. Abrams type super producer. That's always been kind of his dream. And when he failed in features, now he's kind of trying to do that with TV. And I think eventually he wants to get back to features, because that's his real thing, is he wants to be the writer, director, producer, like super wonderkind type guy. So
just to add, the big thing here, you can recall the interview that he gave like a year ago or something like that, when he talked about Star Trek, when he said that I needed Star Trek, that's why, and Star Trek needed me. On that we can disagree, I think. But he needed Star Trek after getting fired from the Dark Universe gig. And
the interesting thing about Kurtzman is, like, people in Hollywood know he's not a good writer. But he's a guy who is a studio shill. He plays ball with the studios. The executives love him because he's willing to bend over backwards to kind of cater to what the studios want. And so,
yes, man.
Yeah, he's a yes man. Yeah. But it's kind of been acknowledged for a long time that it's like, yeah, he's not the greatest writer in the world, but his movies make money, and that's really, at the end of the day, what the executives care about, and having a good working relationship. So one of the reasons Orci is no longer persona non grata in Hollywood is because he was a very difficult guy to work with, apparently. Whereas Kurtzman, just the exact opposite. He's, if a studio exec tells him, to change something, he's like, okay, yeah, no problem. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
He doesn't fight for any creative vision, really.
I got you. No problem.
It shows. Boss. Yeah. It shows.
Yes, man.
I believe that 100%. Oh, man.
And what about Michelle Paradise? How do you guys feel about that?
She's going to be an interesting thing to watch, because she's got a little bit of some chops in producing, because she did like a Canadian TV show, which she also starred in. So she's got a little bit of that whole I'm an actress, I'm producing stuff that I can act in because I secretly want to be an actress. But she was involved with the writer's room for season 2, and apparently she's a big fan. So it'll be interesting to see what she comes up with. I know that she wrote the project date and the season finale for season 2. So we haven't really seen a whole lot of her in particular talent. But the real question is, how is she going to be as a head writer handling the writer's room? Is she going to have a cohesive vision for season 3? And is she going to be able to execute that vision?
Oh, no. And it's the same writers. Writers hasn't changed out from season 1 and 2. She wrote that season finale.
She wrote the finale.
Oof.
If she wrote the season,
Yeah,
she wrote
that
that finale where where Pike decided or they decided to sacrifice the Admiral instead of beaming the bomb off of the Enterprise
or her out.
I want you guys to remember something.
Why didn't they beam her out?
Because they're stupid and they don't understand.
I don't get that.
They don't know what their own technology
was on the outside. And
they have transporters
through a window.
Yeah, and they've already established that they transport people wherever the crap they want. They don't have to be on the transporter pad anymore.
Say this. I want you guys to keep this in mind. So, like, when you're credited as the writer of an episode on TV, even though you may have written the initial script, there are other writers that can kind of come in, especially the showrunner, and change things that aren't exactly credited. So even though you might not have liked the episodes that she's credited with, that's not saying that she was responsible for everything in that episode. So just keep that in mind.
Because if it wasn't mostly her, those other names would show up, though. I mean, it's written by her.
Not necessarily. Like, I mean, everyone's name is on the credits, but at the same time, But it's a writer's room, and like when you turn in your script as a TV writer, it goes through this process where it goes across the showrunner's desk, and he'll make changes or whatever. So Kurtzman might have had some input on those scripts. What I'm saying, it's not 100% Michelle Paradise at this point.
No, it's a producer-driven show. There's 21.
Even if it's not 100% her script at the shooting stage, someone along the line should have said, "This makes no fucking sense at all."
That's what she said. There's a writer's room.
She was okay with her name being on it.
21 producers.
Star Trek. Anybody who has seen Star Trek has seen, bridge engineering, site-to-site transport, one to beam out. That's it. Beam this person. Beam this
40 people, and no one said we should explain why we can't transport her out of the room.
I'll say this. Okay, I'll finish this and make it real easy for everybody. In all of Star Trek Discovery, there isn't one bad episode of regular Star Trek of any of the shows that is as bad as every episode of Star Trek Discovery, period.
Yeah. The worst episode of every other episode. Like, I will take the Xindi. I will sit there and watch the Xindi storyline, which we know ruined Enterprise according to the songs in the Rat Pack show. And I will sit there and watch that over any episode of Discovery.
I like the Xindi episodes.
I will take the Janeway.
I like Enterprise, to be honest.
I will take the Janeway.
Me too. I love Enterprise.
Paris turning into lizards over any episode.
Exactly. That made more sense.
Janeway in Paris, the Salamander episode.
Woo!
I think a major issue here with the writer's room of Discovery is that they don't have a lore master. They don't have someone whose job it is.
They do, though. They do. According to what I've heard, they say they do. They swear they have people who are canon experts who are arguing canon plots. But why aren't they getting their ideas?
There. Wasn't it? No, it's whoever wrote the Voyager novels. That's their canon goddess. Christian Byer,
But according to Robert Meyer Burnett, that she shows up every day, and according to him, she must be absolutely in tears of what's going on, and that she's most likely just, oh yeah, that's nice, just do this fair, go sit over there and be quiet.
Yeah, they probably don't let her do anything.
That's according to Robert Meyer Burnett, that she has very little to do with this. Mm-hmm. Even though that she's on this show, this series has 21 executive producers.
Jesus, my God.
21. Yeah, they counted it on Red Letter Media.
Yeah.
There's 21 people.
Is that if you're a writer on the show, you get a producer credit. That's why.
That's the size of an NHL hockey team. 21 people. I mean, geez.
They have more producers than they have actors on the show.
Yeah.
I'm blown away that not a single person was like, hey, we should explain the whole transport thing. And it could have been explained really easy. Like, hey, the bomb's radiation is disrupting the transport signal.
Or the transporters were damaged.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, give a throwaway. Right. Well, they also really screwed up by the whole thing that they had to go into the future to avoid, which was control, that computer thing or whatever. They defeated it, so they still didn't even need to go to the future.
And they defeated it before they went into the future.
Like, do you not watch your own show? Do you guys? The people are like, they edited it so well.
Go into the future with them. That's why Mikey Spock had to lead them into the future.
Yeah, so she could have this big, and then we're gonna miss you so much, and you're so brave, and you're gonna.
I want to know why they had to disarm that torpedo when Captain Pike, he's standing on the other side of that blast door, and when the thing blows up, it's just like, oh, he's fine. The ship's fine. It just blew up in that one room. It was like, wait, what?
Oh, yeah. Why doesn't she just go with him and let it blow up?
reach around the door thing, pull the handle from the outside, and slip your hand back under. Like Indiana Jones would do.
Yeah. Drives me nuts, man.
That torpedo had no effect on the rest of the ship.
It's like nobody asks any questions in this show. They're just like, do this, do this.
Was strong enough to withstand the blast.
But that's who this show was written for. People, these are fictional characters. This is fiction. You can do whatever you want. Like
Justice for Cornwall.
Can I say
his name? Can I say? I don't like bragging on.
Yeah.
Between the ships.
I don't like bragging on other ships
that came out of the other ships. Like, where in the hell where did all the shuttles come from and all those little other?
Why didn't they just transport people from ship to ship?
And how did a primitive race that Saru escaped from become so proficient within 2 months to be able to fight an outer space battle in ships they'd never trained in?
Yeah,
when they didn't know what space was.
Show up at the same time if they were like months apart. Like how does that work? How does light speed work, people? Like how do you see all this stuff at the same time?
The red flashes. Yeah,
red flashes.
Oh god,
Saru's
they
people
just
came
don't
up really
understand
quick.
Science. Yeah,
what
they don't
saying,
understand.
Rob? You were about to say something. Were you talking about something else?
Like the whole light speed thing. You can explain that there's a real world principle called the Alcubierre drive, where you move space around the ship, and that's how you defeat the time dilation paradox.
It's like a bubble.
Yeah. Like they even say it like on TNG, a warp bubble.
A warp bubble. Yeah.
Well, I'm just talking about when the red flares appeared. How did you see them all at the same time?
Exactly, through light, light travels differently.
Yeah.
If you're,
it would take 50,000 years for that light to reach across the galaxy.
It's like they don't understand basic elementary school science on the show, and you're trying to pass this off as Star Trek. Are you kidding me? And that's my biggest problem with this.
That's the thing, though. Like, you can forgive a lot of that anti-science, like we do on the Orville, if the writing in general is better. Like,
there really isn't a lot of anti-science on the Orville. They
well,
have their own
black hole thing. Like that was obviously not. But everything else is such a knockout of the park that you could be like, the off science stuff that comes up, I can deal with.
Also,
because
Orville
it's not
isn't too
so
bad in that sense, because the thing to keep in mind is that the people that used to be science advisors on Star Trek before, they're science advisors on the Orville now.
That's true, yeah.
One of the things we keep hearing, and one of the things I keep hearing, can't they get the people who used to work on Star Trek to write on STD? I'm like, no, they're all working on the Orville.
I'll be right back. I gotta pee.
Jaloja.
But also what I've been hearing is that they don't want any of the old writers, because the old writers are fans of Star Trek, and I don't want any fans.
Yes, that's something I've heard a couple times.
That's not exactly true. I know that when I was at the Paramount.
Feel free to elaborate if you know more, because this is something I'm a bit sketchy on. So do feel free.
Well, I know that under the Brandon Braga regime of Voyager and Enterprise, they actually went out of their way to hire people who were not fans of Star Trek, because they had a very low opinion of fans, but also they felt like people who were kind of married to what came before in terms of Star Trek would kind of shoot down a lot of their ideas for potential episodes and stuff. So they didn't like working with actual fans. They wanted writers who actually had no frame of reference, so they could come up with new stuff. So when at least when I was at Paramount, that was kind of the mandate, was that if you were a fan of Star Trek, you would not be hired to be a writer on the show. So I don't know if that has changed over the years, or if because they all worked on Voyager, they just have a better knowledge of how Trek works than the people on Discovery. I mean, who's to say? But I do know for a fact that back in the olden days with Enterprise and Voyager, they were specifically anti-fans working on the shows.
Interesting.
And one of their best writers turned out to be Ronald Moore, who was a fan.
Well, Ronald Moore was involved since the Next Generation days.
Yeah.
So, like I said, this was kind of under Brandon Braga's regime, and he's executive producing the Orville as well. So I don't know what it was like before that. I imagine because it wasn't such a like extensive universe, because by the time they got to Voyager and Enterprise, you had all these other series that you had to kind of take into account. But with the Next Generation and Deep Space Nine and stuff like that, they were kind of just making it up as they went, and they were fine with it. So Ronald Moore came out. I believe he started off as as a junior writer on Star Trek: The Next Generation. Then he eventually moved on to Deep Space Nine and then Battlestar Galactica. So.
Oh, you have a lot of like sci-fi alum too on the Orville. Not just the old Star Trek guys, but you have like John Cesar, which is he does amazing. He did amazing sci-fi that didn't get a lot of recognition back in the day, like Terra Nova. I don't know if you guys remember that show. It was a very expensive
I
show.
remember it. I didn't see. I think I saw a little bit of it, but I think they canceled it pretty quickly.
Yeah, they canceled it really quick, but it was really well done. And that was just John Cesar's baby. And it was just, he actually told me at the experience, I asked him, like, hey, can I talk to you about this? And he's like, nah, I can't really talk about it. But it was canceled because it was way too expensive to make. If it was made in this day and age, it would have been a Netflix or an Amazon series or a Hulu series or something, and it would have been fine. But back then, it was so expensive to make sci-fi like it is now. Most studios couldn't keep it going unless it was something like Star Trek that had a built-in audience.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
So he's getting his chance. He's getting his chance to make the kind of sci-fi he wants to make now. And that's probably one of the reasons they're moving to Hulu.
Well, since Rob is in the bathroom, did you guys get a chance to address the super chats earlier?
No, not all of them. Yeah.
Let's have a quick look and go.
Byron Delir gave us $5. Says, "Can you guys summarize again what went down at the convention? Is identity politics impacting all the new Star Trek shows?" My short answer is yeah, because that's all they could talk about during the panels.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's all they could talk about. Yeah.
Even my Chekhov, my favorite actor from the TOS era, aside from William Shatner, Chekhov, he was talking about Star Trek. Everything was fine, and then one of the questions, I don't know how they pick the people that ask questions, asked something political. Next thing you know, it was like 30 minutes of anti-Trump ranting from Chekhov. What's his name? Walter
Koenig.
Thank you.
Koenig, yeah.
It was like 25 minutes of him just ranting about how horrible it is and Donald Trump and everybody's racist and everything. Like, what? How did we get here?
Do we care? I don't care. I'm tired of hearing the word at this point.
And then he said something that was like very frustrating to me, because he was like, I know no one wants me to talk about this, so if you're a Trump supporter, you can leave now. And this poor bastard next to me gets up and leaves. And here's the deal. I don't even think that guy was a Trump supporter. I think he just had to leave. But he picked like the absolute worst time to leave the theater, because he was in the very front of the theater and he's walking back and everybody's looking at this poor bastard on the way out.
Oh, man.
And like,
I'm glad I didn't hear that. I'm glad I didn't hear that. And I only heard Babylon 5 stuff from Walter Koenig.
Yeah. So not only does he alienate half the audience, he unintentionally alienates a guy walking out of the room. Great job.
I just had to go Jaloja, right?
I'm pretty sure he was just going to Jaloja, because he was getting up before he even said that, but the timing was so bad for him.
The P dance was the dead giveaway, I think. But anyway, yeah, we had another super chat from Kenneth LaRock. Canadian,
Kenneth.
$5 a day.
Kenneth, he comments on every one of my videos, by the way.
Awesome.
What's the frequency, Kenneth?
Yes, what is the frequency? I think he's also frequents our channels as well. Save your money and just do a meet, forget the convention. Yeah, I think that's kind of what we were all kind of talking about.
Yeah, just do a hangout.
Yeah. Well, all right, I'm going to duck out here because Rob is back. I just want to say Clint Howard is the coolest human being ever.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was more of the highlights for the Clint Howard stuff. But.
I missed it. Who's Clint Howard?
Clint Howard is he's Ron Howard's brother. Legend.
You know him if you saw him. He's been in so much stuff.
He's been in everything. He was in TOS when he was a little kid. He was in Rock and Roll High School as Eaglebauer. He was
basically he's been in everything, and you know his face.
I'm sure if I saw his face, yeah.
Yeah, he's one of those guys.
I've met Ron Howard. He was a really nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I met him a long time ago. Really nice guy when I met him too. Very accommodating. Shook my hand. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Clint
have
let
to
us
think
buy
about
him
shaking
lunch.
hands. Anyways. That meat that we were talking about, by the way.
Yeah, Mecha. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, whenever we do that, it doesn't have to be centered around a convention, but it would be cool if it was centered around something that we can actually all cover together. That way we can write it off on our taxes.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm sure we can find a way to accommodate that.
Vegas is going to be very helpful with that, by the way.
I'm sure, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to write off $500 at the Rio? Okay.
Yeah, Mrs. Nerdrotic and I were discussing business the entire time.
Yes. Business expense. Yeah.
I won't
that room
elaborate on
service
that.
Oh, I ordered a burger, by the way, at the Rio. One burger for room service was $40.
Yep.
I believe it. I believe it.
Bad time to break my diet.
Oh
We
yeah,
were
the
go-
food is exorbitant. You know.
We were going
$9 for water.
to the Gold Coast buffet, which is actually pretty reasonably priced and pretty good.
It's like $10
like
for
right-
breakfast each. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
$12.
great.
$12.99 for lunch, $16.99 for prime rib dinner.
Yes.
I took my wife and my twin girls to the buffet at the Rio. Here's a helpful hint. Don't take two children to a buffet. They're not going to get your money's worth. That's for sure.
Yeah.
No.
Jesse Miller suggests converging over the AVN Awards, which I am fully in support of. So
The Burnett work is in the chat.
Hey,
RMB.
Rob.
What's up, dude?
Hey, let's
That
go.
would have been a
I'd
good
be
party
awards.
if you were out there.
It's not
Yep.
fun. It's not fun, Matt.
Oh man,
Where were you, man?
we really wish you were out there, man. That would be great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, Matt, I've been to the AVN Awards in Vegas, and I suggest never attending the AVN Awards. It's just a lot of sad people there. A lot of sad people.
your experience with AVN was very different than mine.
Oh man, that was a rough. I went there on work. I was a cameraman for a media company in Los Angeles, and I went there to literally film this guy that was covering the AVNs, and it was just poo and sadness. That's what I sum it up to. Poo and sadness.
Sounds like San Francisco.
It just felt so gross the whole time. Ruined it for me.
So,
I'm sorry. What is
Mr.
that?
Burnett said it's like watching the Avengers. Does that mean that it's like overblown and confusing in terms of time travel? How's that work?
Oh, the
There's
Endgame.
actually two of me right now.
Yeah, the Endgame was actually the final movie in the MCU that I give a shit about. Officially,
Yeah.
I no longer care.
You
And
really have, I think.
it sucks because I went to go watch Spider-Man and I wasn't excited whatsoever, and I used to like it. And I don't know what happened, but as soon as when I walked out of the Endgame theater, I told myself, I'm just sort of done. That's it. I've climaxed. My MCU is over for me. I'm ready to move on to the DCU. And then boom, news pops up. Jay-Z's in charge of the DCU. Oh, great. Oh, here we go. Oh, Jesus.
Mystery Box Superman. Can't wait.
Oh, God. He's going to make two decent movies, and then he's going to bounce, and it's going to be... That's exactly what's going to happen. They're going to be decent enough to make money, and then some junior producer nobody is going to come in, and it's going to go woke really quick.
Mr. Box.
Well, it's just going to become JJ Wood. I mean, he's planting his people everywhere.
Absolutely.
That's what he's doing.
Kind of
Yeah, you got
genius.
Rejwan in Star Wars. You got Kurtzman in Star Trek. Now he'll just need to fly to the UK and plant somebody in Doctor Who next.
Is
Yeah.
it just me, or is I don't know about you guys, but I'm just not excited for Star Wars at the end of this year, at
No.
all. And I remember when Force Awakens was coming out, I don't think I've ever been excited as then when I heard Force Awakens was coming out. I was so stoked, and it was okay. It was good enough. And then Return of the Jedi and Solo and that movie, the prequel movie, whatever it was called. And I've slowly gotten to this point where I just don't care at all about Star Wars. I saw the trailer.
You really alienated so many hardcore fans.
And that's what's
Dude,
going on with
it's
Star
so
Trek
good,
too. I mean, they're just, okay, how many more people can they lose? Like when I was walking out of that DS9, the Rat Pack show, I'm like, well, that's a nice farewell to Star Trek for me because I think I'm out. I think that's it.
I got to watch that What We Left Behind documentary. Everybody's telling me it's great.
Yeah, I've heard good
Yeah, I
things.
need to watch
heard
it.
it.
But
I also need to watch Chaos on the Bridge, which is about the next generation. That's a great documentary too.
Yeah, that one is really good.
It is.
Yeah.
Is it on Netflix or?
I believe it's on Netflix. Yeah, it's basically about like how tumultuous the first 3 seasons of The Next Generation were, and all the behind the scenes drama until they kind of got their crap together. But I found it very fascinating.
Huh.
And it should be on Netflix for free. So I think that's where
it should be. It should be.
I'm
That's
gonna check
where
it
I
out.
saw it, and that's a great documentary. That's actually one of the things that that's kind of like inspired much of our Star Trek coverage. It was like, whoa, this thing all over again. So
I've been watching TNG. When I heard that it was in high definition on Amazon or whatever, I've been watching it from season 1. I gotta be honest, I don't remember that season 1 and 2 were pretty rough. Like it wasn't great.
They were pretty good. I watched them recently. I mean, a lot of people, well, they're putting out, one of the messages they like to put out with their little Twitter marketing people, from what I can see, because it's the same message over and over again, is that season 1 and 2 sucked. People didn't like season 1 and 2. That's one of the talking points. People who don't like Discovery are racist. People who don't like Discovery or whatever, ever. So that's kind of, I always have to jump in and defend it. It's like, no, you had Q Who, I think, in the first season, right? Or you had a Q.
My problem with the first 2 seasons was not
PowerPoint
identity politics or anything like that.
No.
It felt like the chemistry wasn't
Well,
there.
they
And
weren't-
maybe
they
I'm
didn't get their groove
romanticizing
yet.
it because I watched TNG so many years ago and I absolutely love it. So when I go to watch it again, it feels like there's a lot of acting that feels sort of off mark and cheesy, and there's clearly no chemistry, and it might be just that I romanticized the first 2 seasons, and now I'm watching it as an adult or as more of an adult, whatever, and I'm seeing problems now that I watch every TV show now with this very strict mentality. Maybe that's the case, but then I get to season 3. And everything cleans up a little bit.
new showrunner.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, that's what happened.
So I definitely like season
new
3 going forward. So
Yeah, no, because
And
there's a shift there. Because basically, season 3 that came with a new showrunner, also came with new uniforms. Those are like the 2 biggest things. Also, season 2 suffered from a writer's strike, so that they recycled many episodes from the defunct Star Trek Phase 2 series, which was supposed to be the original, a continuation of the original series way back in 1978, 79, 80, thereabouts or something. And also it was a matter of like finding their feet, because then you also had Roddenberry himself, who was involved, and not necessarily in the best kind of way, because he wasn't the guy to bring it into the next generation. So it was kind of like when he was more out of it, and some other previously people that haven't been right that were more out, that got out of it, and then a new showrunner came in to run it. Basically, this is all explained in that documentary. There you're going to go through exactly what was wrong with season 1 and season 2, and how basically it all got good in season 3. So you should absolutely see that documentary. But it should be said, though, that, yeah, seasons 1 and season 2, they get a bum rap, because there are more bad episodes in those seasons than there are in many of the others. However, you still have some really, really good classic episodes in those 2 first seasons.
yeah, no, I mean there's still good episodes. I just noticed a whole lot more. I'm gonna watch that. It's on Netflix, you say? I'm gonna watch that.
It was before. I think that we have another guest wanting to join us here now, don't we?
Robert, what's up?
And I'm gonna take out.
Dude, I
me
turned you guys
and
on. It was when
somebody
I said
else.
Avengers. It was like watching literally the Avengers, like all my favorite YouTubers are like in one place.
Awesome.
Yeah,
What's up, man?
Team.
Nerdrotic, Gary, it's finally nice to meet you. I've been talking about you for a long time.
Oh, I hope it's been mostly good. I'll take that.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
It's very nice to meet you finally. I've been wanting to live stream with you for a while now, so this is good. This is fun. I've been a great time.
Messaging you on Twitter a few times, Rob.
Yeah, and I love your show too.
Thanks,
So
man.
it was your video that I watched on The Expanse, right? That we were talking about that?
Oh, I think so.
About why The Expanse is so good?
Oh, yeah. I like that video a lot.
I thought it was great.
Thanks,
It
man.
was funny because I just watched season 3 again. and then when you do that, they've wired us all. So that video popped up. Watch this video. I'm like,
yeah,
that's terrifying. But true.
I'm stoked that it got a season 5 before season 4 even airs. That's a really good sign.
It's a very good sign.
It's great about that show because it's based on a series of books. So it's already a story that's been told well, that they're adapting, and they're doing a good job adapting it.
Yeah.
A very good job adapting. I think they've actually improved on.
We'll be okay.
I think they've improved on the books in some aspects. I've read them all a couple times.
The interesting thing about those books is that it was originally supposed to be an MMO, so they had created all this expansive world. That when the MMO fell through, they were like, "Well, what are we going to do with this? Might as well write some books."
Yeah.
And now they can bring it back and make an MMO.
Oh, yeah, they should. Why not?
I'm going to be curious to see how the fan base, the people who haven't read the books, react to where it's going, because it's it becomes a very different kind of a show.
Yeah, right.
And it's great though. I mean, it's great literary based sci-fi, which is what we need more of. I mean, I can't believe we're getting a Dune movie, a Bene Gesserit TV series.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
I know. And I was talking about that on my show today, and I said, look, the marketing people, Blade Runner 2049 was one of the most horribly marketed movies ever.
True.
Like the key art, everything about it was just horrific. And I think that the big job facing Dune, as far as it's a ready-made franchise, is the marketing department has to allow the public at large to know what Dune is. We can't assume that people know, and you have to understand, why is Dune relevant now? It's as relevant. It's more relevant than when it was written in the mid-'60s. And we need to let people know what that is, because they're going all in on this, and it could be one of the great sci-fi shows ever. I mean, in terms of, you're going to get a movie and a TV series that are going to be sort of concurrent to each other. I hope it works out.
I think Dune was made to be a TV show, and I think making a movie has got to be difficult, considering how much you have to put into a movie. What is it, a 5-hour movie?
They're making 2 movies, back to back.
Oh, I see.
From the first book. So I think that the plan was always to do the first book as a movie and then launch into like some type of TV thing. I know that they're making an Event Horizon adaptation from a movie into a TV show.
I heard that.
And, the Night Flyers TV show got canceled. That was another sci-fi original series based off of George R.R. Martin's story that didn't quite hit the mark. It was all over the place.
That was a movie first.
It was a movie, I believe.
No, Night Flyers was theatrically released. It just wasn't good.
No.
Michael DeBar, I think, the famous groupie Pamela DeBar's husband, Michael DeBar, I think, was in it. Was in Night Flyers.
To say though, I think that's a really good idea when you
famous
take, like, movies
famous groupies. Who was the rock star himself?
Yes, yes. Famous groupie's husband.
When
Only in
the
Hollywood
groupie is more famous than the husband rock star, right?
Yeah.
But she did write a book.
It is interesting to see all these networks and streaming services, particularly gearing up with so much fantasy fare and very little sci-fi fare. Sci-fi's kind of gotten overlooked in terms of like the high epic fantasy Game of Thrones wannabes.
Well, hopefully Expanse catches on. I've been trying to get this show to catch on forever. That's how. That was the first thing that got traction on my channel, was talking about the Expanse and it getting canceled and going through. I saw one of the best fan movements I've ever seen. I've never seen that many fans get together on one thing and were clever enough to crowdfund. It was pretty cool.
You don't remember Jericho or Stargate SG-1 when they killed off Daniel Jackson?
No, I don't. I was
100,000 boxes of Kleenex was sent to the Hollywood studios.
With Jericho, it was all the nuts.
It was all the nuts.
Yeah, Mrs. Nerdrotic was part of that. She was. But I didn't watch the show. I was reading comic books at the time.
I remember I was like 15 or 17 or something like that, and I was seeing pictures with "Save Daniel Jackson" written on the back of these Kleenex boxes. It was fantastic.
But, well, The Expanse worked. I don't know if Stargate, maybe it did. I didn't.
Oh yeah, they brought back
they
Michael
did.
Shanks.
Yeah,
they did.
Good.
Well,
It worked.
because he really didn't go off and do anything, wasn't it? Because he wanted to do movies or something, and then nothing.
They gave him the
Yeah.
pay raise he wanted.
But
Though.
they flew a plane over Amazon. They crowdfunded
That's
that
true.
banner and got that done, and then took a Rocinante and put it up in space with a little balloon, and they did a lot of clever stuff. And
true, yeah.
Didn't MGM try to launch their own Stargate-based streaming service, and
They
it just
did.
failed miserably?
Yeah, I actually got to talk to the guys in charge of that at the Orville Experience, StargateCommand.co. It didn't fail. It's active. They released that prequel. It did okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad. It wasn't good. It was whatever. And now they're talking about doing another series, and they're talking to the original guy, the guy that started it off. I forgot his name right now. Brad Wright, I want to say Brad Wright. They're talking to Brad Wright about a brand new series, and he was just on a podcast talking about it.
Well, it's
I
funny.
thought
The
it was
guy,
Martin Wood they were talking to, or was it Brad Wright?
It was Brad Wright. Yeah.
Okay.
the guys who did all the really good Star shows, they recently went off to Canada and did Travelers, and that just got canceled by Netflix. So
I was
those
very
guys,
sad about that.
Yeah, I was
it was
sad
a
about
great
that,
show.
too.
It was a great
Good
show,
show.
but now they're all, and plus Dark Matter. They also did Dark Matter, and that got canceled as well.
yeah,
Now
Brad
they're all
Wright,
available.
dude, hell of a sci-fi guy. He's a good sci-fi showrunner.
Oh yeah.
Amazing. So if MGM is smart, they'll snatch him up before he goes to another project and redo it. But MGM's track record is not great.
They're not. They're not smart at all.
No, they don't make good
Aren't they
decisions.
kind of failing? I mean, they've even had talks of like Joe Flanagan wanting to bring back maybe an Atlantis movie that he was going to, because I think he bought a lot of the rights himself.
He bought a lot of the rights and he tried to crowdfund it, but then they blocked him. So
Yeah.
he bought the majority of the rights, but they still blocked him from being able to do it, which makes no sense. Why would you? You're not even taking any risk.
That's money in the bank. Just crowdfund the project.
Easy money.
And I would watch it because I'm a huge Atlantis fan. I kind of prefer it to SG-1 sometimes.
Can you imagine if Momoa came back for that?
Oh God, they
one
would
thing,
great.
One thing I'm learning is buying all the rights to something is not buying all the rights. And this is from watching Midnight's Edge and Robert Meyer Burnett. You can own all the rights to something and still can't use everything in it because
it's
of
incredible.
IP. The
intellectual properties
anybody,
and the
anybody read Hitchhiker and remember the spaceship that was run on Bistro mathematics because nobody could ever figure them out? They were quantum. I mean, that's that intellectual property is the same thing. It's so quantum it could generate like a star. It's like, it makes no freaking sense at all. And I'll be doing a video. I just got some news, some crazy Star Wars news that's very similar to what's going on in Star Trek.
Well, luckily for
let's hear it.
Stargate,
I can't say anything right now, but I'll tell you. I'll message you. I mean, it's been pinging to me right now. So,
luckily for Stargate, the acting CEO of MGM, their online division, like Stargate Command, their acting CEO is this big investor who is a massive fan of the original Stargate TV series, and that happened like a year ago. And then they went and they hired the guy that made Survivor on CBS. What's his name? Someone help me
Mark Burnett.
Yeah, they hired Mark Burnett to be the CEO of that division. So the investor that owns more than 50% of MGM right now literally hired Mark Burnett to be the acting CEO of the MGM online television division. And they're both massive fans of Stargate, according to their old social post. So if I had to put money on it, I would say a new Stargate is in the works.
Well,
I think it is too. I've been hearing things that it is. But.
Dean Devlin and Roland Emmerich about coming back and rebooting the movie franchise.
Right.
And that
And then they made Independence Day too. And MGM was like, screw that. That
Talk
sucks.
about an IP that was taken, though.
Yeah.
Stargate was taken away from Dean Devlin and Roland
was,
Emmerich.
yeah.
They had no control over the
They had no input or involvement with the TV
or
show.
money.
Which
you
I
know.
think I'm okay with, guys, because their version of the TV show would have been only that Stargate going to that one planet. That's it.
Mm.
Well, but they did create the concept, you know.
Well,
and
no,
in order
they stole the concept. They stole the concept, ended up in a lawsuit where they paid out the original writer of Stargate like $50,000, and told him to be quiet about it. They took the idea from a guy from some high school writing professor that lived in the Midwest somewhere. He wrote a book. You could still buy it. It's called Egyptology. He wrote the book. It's literally the entire concept of Stargate was taken from this guy's book. He sued the studio, and they paid him out, and he went quiet. That's exactly what happened. Dean Devlin They stole the idea from this dude.
I don't know if you guys remember this, but Stargate started off as a Showtime original series.
Yes.
So like
Right.
the
First episode has
the
nudity.
episode, it's got it's got nudity and like
Right.
of adult stuff. And then like once it transitioned away from paid TV to cable, it got a lot more family friendly.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Stargate got lucky. The reason Stargate was successful was because they had a built-in 2 seasons paid for by Showtime. I just did this whole Stargate doc, and when I learned about how lucky Stargate was, if they had not had 2 seasons already paid for in the can, ready to go, it would never have taken off into what it became, because
Right.
the first season didn't have the ratings. In fact, Showtime ended up dropping it, but by the time they dropped it, it had gotten popular enough for Sci-Fi to pick it up, and it was pure luck that Showtime made the mistake of picking up Stargate. Well, not a mistake, but for them it was a mistake. They thought, oh, we're getting all these views off this pilot episode because they like Stargate, when in reality they just liked the guy that was running Outer Limits at the time, and that's why they watched. And so they picked it up, and it found its audience. 15 years later, it's a cultural phenomenon.
And how many episodes of across all the shows?
Oh,
200 plus, right?
hundreds.
It's a
Yeah,
lot.
there's hundreds.
Yeah, it was
10
200
seasons
plus.
of SG-1, 5 of Atlantis.
I remember I watched
20
like the
episodes a
200th
season.
episode, and it was like it had this like massive budget that Sci-Fi was advertising. Like, look at this huge budget we have for the 200th episode, and then like the next day they canceled it.
It was a shame. It was a shame that Stargate Galaxies was just like such a bad show.
Oh, Universe, yeah.
Oh, Universe.
Well, they
Stargate.
tried to go too dark.
They
They're
tried
trying
something
because
new.
Battlestar Galactica was.
well,
They Discovery did. That's what they
Yeah,
did. They
but
pulled
it was
the Star
not
Trek
nearly as
Discovery.
bad as Discovery. You had
No,
cohesive
yeah.
characters. You had
It was
cohesive.
pretty bad.
It wasn't great. It wasn't great.
It
but
wasn't
was not
great, but it wasn't
nearly-
Discovery level.
It wasn't Discovery bad. It was.
They
it
tried
was-
to make Battlestar Galactica, but with the Stargate version. And
Yeah, and for me, Stargate really worked with like the huge ensemble of like little side characters being funny off on the background, and it worked by being a show that didn't take itself too seriously. You've got O'Neill coming in, and Gwendolyn's like, "I'm the biggest, baddest thing." He's like, "Oh, for crying out loud, you're a guy in a bathrobe or something,"
then
and
he
that's
shoots
what
him.
Stargate was
Right,
so
yeah.
fun for me. Like I loved that.
Yeah,
You
big problem with SGU was the Rush character was sort of painted to be this like anti-hero guy, but they never gave him that hero moment. They just kept painting him as a dirtbag the whole time. He never.
Yeah, I really was. I love. Well, see, I love Robert Carlyle, who played Dr. Rush.
Same.
And I was so like, oh yes, we've got Robert Carlyle coming in for this. What are they going to do with him? And they turned him into kind of a
An asshole.
less likable Rodney McKay. It's like, okay,
Right,
we
yes.
already had McKay, but
I remember watching SGU and I was like, this is like a bad version of McKay. It's like an asshole version of McKay. And McKay's already a lovable asshole. So what are you going to do with that?
Eli was never the Daniel Jackson character that we all wanted. He was just kind of like fumbling through things, and they kept referring to him as like their savior, and it was like he didn't do anything.
The problem with that, though, the guy was a guy living it literally. It's not hyperbole. Living in his mom's basement, playing video games, and he was playing like a Stargate video game. And they picked him up because he solved the riddle.
Because he solved the riddle. He last Starfired it, and that's how they got
and now
him.
he's like a billion miles away trying to save a crew of people. My thing is, that's a cool concept, but like you got to give him more. Like maybe make him like maybe he's like an undercover genius, but he's also a slacker. I don't know. You could have done more with that writing. Cool idea, bad execution.
You could have done more with that entire show. It had a great cast. But
Great
like
cast.
Oh,
Are
yeah.
you guys at all excited for Carnival Row?
Oh yeah, I am.
I've been waiting to see this for 20 years because it was a screenplay called A Killing on Carnival Row that was written by Travis Beacham, who wrote Pacific Rim. And it was a spec script, just like Pacific Rim was. And it was one of my favorite unproduced screenplays for the longest time. And Guillermo del Toro was going to direct it at one point. And I can't believe they've turned it into a series. I'm deliriously excited to see this thing.
It does have
up right now.
a look to it. It looks pretty good.
It's like a horror thing, right? What is this?
It's like a Victorian era steampunkish fantasy thing.
Ooh, I like
With,
steampunk.
Orlando Bloom and Cara Delevingne. I think.
Yeah, Mrs. Nerdrotic's really excited for this.
Dude,
one.
any TV show or movie that has the steampunk style that's done correctly is like a plus for me. I love that.
I was about to say, you had me at steampunk.
Yeah, you had me at steampunk, baby.
Yeah, and it does have horror elements to it. I mean, it's. I can't wait. I hope it's like, we were talking about a little earlier, but the fact that we have The Expanse, which is a literary based show, you've also got The Man in the High Castle was based on a classic science fiction novel. A Handmaid's Tale is a science fiction novel. We are getting maybe not as much space-based stuff, and now they're going to do a Bene Gesserit TV series, which is Dune. It's pretty amazing that they're delving into the classics of sci-fi literature to then, because I mean, Man in the High Castle is certainly not a new book either, and to look back at the writers of I want to see a Heinlein Stranger in a Strange Land series. I mean, who knows what we're going to get next? I'd love to see a Dan Simmons Hyperion series if they ever do that. Scorsese was trying to do that as a film for a long time, and it's pretty great what we're seeing because of these streaming.
One of the good things about the streaming wars is that you need so much content to feed these new platforms that they're just going to be pulling in anything that has a built-in fan base and trying to turn it into a movie or TV show.
There's a small window for it, but yes, I mean, we've actually been getting it. This is kind of a renaissance for TV, and because of the paradigm shift in Hollywood, they're taking more chances. I wish they would take them with our franchises, but we get The Expanse out of it, and I hated how Game of Thrones ended, but it really set. I'm cautious. I want the Lord of the Rings show to be good, but I mean, 20 episodes for the first season. They're spending $1 billion on the show, but the guys running it it's very discouraging. It is. But
you can say that
Watchmen.
Sure.
What's that gonna be?
Yeah,
you can say that. It's very interesting, like the choices that they've made to shepherd these TV shows. Like the people who are doing The Witcher, they don't have a lot under their belt. The guy's doing the Wheel of Time series. Like, he was an actor who had no producing experience at all, and they just handed him this show. So it's gonna be interesting to see how these come out. But the good thing about Game of Thrones is that it inspired all these networks to realize that there's a big audience out there for epic fantasy.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. No, we thank it for that.
My question is, why has no one picked up like the Foundation series yet?
They have.
Yeah, they've tried. They've been trying to make that. It's like, does Showtime or HBO have that now?
I actually think the guy who was the original showrunner on The Man in the High Castle is the one who's kind of trying to get that going.
Have you guys watched? There's another show run. Oh,
I'm sorry to cut you off there.
No.
Sorry. Where is that coming from, Matt?
I just said the guy who was with Amazon who started The Man in the High Castle.
Oh, I see.
He was the one who, I think, last I read, he was the one who was trying to get that off the ground as as a series on one of the streaming networks.
Because that is like prime for a TV series.
I have to say, though, I don't just want Foundation. I want the Robot series and Foundation.
Yes!
They're kind of the same continuity.
Yeah, what about an Elijah Bailey procedural? You've got Asimov's The Caves of Steel.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Yes. Now we're speaking the same language here.
Why isn't Isaac Asimov getting more love here? I mean, he's like the godfather of sci-fi.
They have no idea who he is, mostly, probably.
But somebody will discover him. There's a series on, I don't even know if it ran past. There's a show called The Rook. I don't know if you've seen this. Nobody's seen this. It's based on an incredible, there's 2 books in the series, but it's basically a it's James Bond meets the X-Files.
Really?
Is what it is. And the first, I only saw an ad for 1 episode. And I was like, I never saw it. I was like, this was like last month. It's called The Rook. The first book was called The Rook. And it's basically about this, a like MI6, but with a supernatural bent to it. And
Stars?
I think it might be.
Dude, it has Olivia Munn in it, bro.
Yeah, I mean, it's the books were great. And it's amazing to me, like, there's no fanfare. I saw ads for it, but I didn't have Stars. I don't have Stars, so I didn't.
Stars is terrible. Oh God, they canceled the best show on TV, Counterpart. I don't know if anybody watched that.
Yeah. What a great show that was.
We're losing great. There's a show called Taboo that Tom Hardy starred in 2 years ago.
Yeah,
that we just got word that they'll probably not. He won't be. They might do it without him, which sucks. I mean, it was a great 8 episodes of television. It was brilliant.
The funny thing about Stars is what ABC recently got criticized for, which is Stars is making a shift trying to appeal to a more female-heavy demographic, so they're canceling all the stuff that doesn't appeal to the female demo and trying to put stuff more like Outlander and stuff on their network. So like they're getting ready to spin off a lot of stuff from Power, but it's called their premium female strategy. I'm about getting ready to do a video on this in my channel, but it's really interesting because the guy, like Starz got bought out by Lionsgate, and Starz used to have some really great original series on it, and they've just been like getting rid of all these things and kind of going for more more
Starz had Ash vs. Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Which the first season was, as far as treating your source material, as good as Cobra Kai. It was Ash vs. Evil Dead season 1 was perfect. Oh, so good.
Yeah. But even like the guys who did Ash versus Evil Dead, like before that, they did Spartacus. You know.
Hey, somebody sent me this in my PO box. I love you. Yes, I love that show so much.
Yeah, I love Spartacus. Yeah, I've been looking at The Rook, and it looks fantastic.
Yeah, I know, and well, the books. Look, it's the show begins just like the first book begins, where the main character wakes up and she has no memory of who she is. And she turns on her computer where she's at, and she sees herself come on and say, look, you're not going to know who you are right now, but you're me. And let me tell you what's happened. And this is what you have to do.
Wow.
And it goes from there. And it's the books they're funny. They're great. They're great books. I mean, it's perfect fare for television. And what's amazing is that it got developed, but I don't think the books were actually sent to me by a friend of mine, and I wasn't aware of them. But it's amazing to me that a show like that got made, and you can see as you look at it, it's lavishly produced. One of my favorite shows that is also unsung in America, it came out in America as MI5, but it was originally called Spooks in the UK, where they couldn't call it Spooks here. And when they aired it in America, it's an espionage show, but it's about MI5, the intelligence division of the UK. And it was a brutal show, and you never knew all of the main characters. All of them could have been cannon fodder at any minute. It ran for 10 seasons. And it was something that never really caught on here. It was really well produced, beautifully directed, a great cast. They did a movie. They did an MI5 movie with Kit Harington in the lead role. And even that was pretty good. And nobody knows that show here. I mean, some people do, because when it was aired here, when it was on broadcast, they edited the show down, and the only way you could watch it in the full-length episodes was to get the DVDs. And I feel like The Rook has become that show. It's become the show that this great show that nobody knows. Although I can't speak to the quality because I've never seen it. I only read the book.
It took Counterpart's place then. Counterpart got canceled, and it'll become the show that nobody watches.
I just love the fact that these books are being adapted. There's so many.
Altered Carbon out there too from Netflix.
Altered Carbon is amazing.
Another book series, and I'll tell you guys a funny story. This is a long time ago. I had a pitch meeting at Sam Raimi's Ghost House. Ghost House is his genre division, and I don't remember who I was pitching to, but in the middle, we're sitting around we're like two couches, and in the middle between the couches was a table with books on it, and at the top of the pile of books was Dan Simmons' first horror novel, Song of Kali, which is the first horror novel he wrote. Dan Simmons also wrote like The Terror that the TV series was based on. Now they're doing a second season with George Takei and an intern.
Great series.
Yeah, well, it was based on a Dan Simmons novel. So I was looking at it, and after the meeting was over, I asked the guy, and I'm not trying to disparage Sam Raimi here at all, but I asked the guy, I said, are you guys going to make Song of Kali into a movie? Because I own every Dan Simmons novel. I'm a huge Dan Simmons fan. And I said, Song of Kali is an incredible book, and you could go to Calcutta and shoot it in India, and no one's ever seen what's in that book before. It'd make a great movie. And the executive says, oh, yeah, Dan Simmons, he's just great. He's just one of the most fantastic authors. I've never, of course, read any Dan Simmons, but I've heard he's great. He's great. And I just looked down, and I was so depressed because I'm like, wow, here your book. This book is you're advertising it in a meeting, and then you tell me how great Dan Simmons is, and you've never actually read anything that he's He's written. But The Terror is another literary. So you've got The Rook, you've got The Terror. The new season's not based on a novel, but there's so much great literary sci-fi, fantasy, and horror being put on TV that it really starts to give me hope. I mean, I hope these shows have longevity because, like with Travelers, the third season ended in a really interesting place, and I was like, "Wait, what are they going to do now?" And then
they ended it in a way where they could have continued if they wanted to, or it could have been a good series finale.
Right.
So, like they handled it right. Basically.
Yes. But they did it. They did the same thing they did to Designated Survivor. Like, I don't know if you ever watched that show with Kiefer Sutherland, but the first 10 episodes of Designated Survivor was great, what I would call airport reading, like when you go to the airport and buy a book to take on a plane with you. The first 10 episodes were amazing. Then it had a really long hiatus. The showrunners left, and the latter half of the first season was terrible, and the second season I didn't watch. But then Netflix picked it up, and the third season I watched was pretty good, and then they announced it was canceled. So Netflix is doing this 3 seasons and done thing, not just they're doing it to a number of series, because once they've got their 3 seasons, they don't have to re-up for deals. They don't have to pay people more money. And
for their original shows, it's just been 2 seasons for the most part.
Yeah. Well, the Stranger Things is going to get now a 4th season, maybe a 5th, but it's so weird now. I mean, I'd rather know that you're going to get a longer, you can commit to it as a viewer more if you know you're going to get more seasons. That's why I love what they did with The Expanse. I mean, they're up to book 8 now, but now they're going to at least get into book 5, and that's pretty fantastic. The book series isn't finished either, so
nope, it's got one more to go.
The first 2 seasons of The Expanse were just the first book with a few elements from it.
I hope they go back to that formula where they would they went a season and a half. So the first book ends on episode 5 of season 2 with Home, which is a beautiful episode, by the way. And I hope they go back to that, because the 5th book is the best book. If you guys can get to that book, that's like the Empire Strikes Back of The Expanse.
But the 3rd season ended with where the 3rd book ended.
They really rushed. They cut a ton of that out, and I think that's because they thought they were going to get canceled.
Right.
No, too bad.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now is a really good time for genre TV with the streaming wars and all this stuff, because they're just, producing stuff left and right that looks pretty awesome. As down as I am on the people who are making the Witcher series, I think the Witcher actually looks really good. So I'm looking at that. I'm looking forward to all types of stuff. Even like with Star Trek, I know that like we're all very critical of the direction it took, but I think the new trailer for Picard really got me hopeful.
Oh yeah, me too.
So like, and now that Les Moonves is not involved in CBS and he can't be slapping down, the creatives, I feel like Star Trek has the potential to improve. So I'm kind of bullish on Star Trek right now. I'm hoping that the stuff that's coming out of the pipeline is going to be good. So fingers crossed.
Same. I hope so too.
Me too.
When I saw that pudgy android face, man, not gonna lie, I squealed a little bit.
Yeah, but I just don't have any. I don't have any faith of the heart. That I don't have any faith. I don't have any faith that I think there's this desire by the people that run Star Trek now to change Star Trek. Over the last 10 years, we've received Star Trek where they're literally trying to alter the core idea of what the show is supposed to be, and what it is as a concept. And I think that's wrong. And I think now that Picard, I want Picard to be good, but I think they're taking the wrong cues from other things. I'm sure Patrick Stewart, he rescues dogs. He was in Logan. And if you read Michael Pillar's book on the making of Insurrection, or what happened during the making of Nemesis, Patrick Stewart's input, and I love Patrick Stewart. I've spent time with him. I've interviewed him for other various things. I spent hours with him doing the Star Trek The Next Generation Blu-rays. But I don't ever think that actors have the best intentions for an overall show. I know he's front and center, but actors, they can't, by definition, they're not seeing the big picture. They never see the big picture. They can't, because they deal with their roles.
Right.
And I hope, and when I saw that trailer, knowing, as I know Gary picked up on this, it was something I recognized because I heard it from Brian Fuller. And there's no way you're going to tell me. I mean, Kirsten Beyer, who's the best Star Trek Voyager novelist has been working on Star Trek, but even she, I'm sure she's not running that writer's room. And there's no way that they decided to do a Picard show and, let's put 7 of 9 in it. Let's make it Borg-centric. I mean, that was the original idea, because they were taking the first iteration of that was Brian's idea, which was this about the Borg expats, and it really leaned heavily into what they were doing on Voyager. And then he, with the added spin of the Countdown comic and what they did in Star Trek 09. But to me, it's like none of that really has anything to do. Patrick Stewart's journey with the Borg is over. Let's see something new. Let's see something unique. I mean, what does a man who's done all of these things, how does, when you're in the twilight years of your life, how do you get meaning from that? And I would like to have seen something more unique. And instead, their Voyager has become their touchstone, but not Next Gen. Yeah. It's such a weird, strange to me.
Yeah, but seeing 7 and 9
that's what they did it for. And she's not going to be in the whole show. Don't fall for it. It's the same.
I'm not falling for it, but I still want to see it, Gary.
Oh well, okay.
I do too, though. I mean, who's not going to? We're all going to watch it.
Yeah, we're all going to watch it.
I don't know if I want to watch it. I don't know if I want to see this.
We'll just give you the breakdown of the episodes. You can watch our channels.
I think it could be good.
Be covering it live, thanks. But I know what we're gonna get. I mean, I do. I wish I didn't. But Akiva Goldsman is still involved, and what I'm thinking is rough start, and maybe it gets better towards the end. That's the best.
I have faith in Michael Chabon as a storyteller, so I'm holding out hope.
I do too, man.
He pulls it out with this one.
And maybe.
Although he's never run a television show before.
Well, he's never run a television show, but he understands story. I mean, this is arguably one of the greatest modern novels
with CBS
nowadays.
He's got to deal with CBS. That's a good point.
He's got to deal with CBS and Alex Kurtzman still, and Kiva Goldsman in a writer's room, and I mean that's not him writing all that stuff, as you stated earlier. And he's a nice guy. I met him at Line at Comic-Con. He's a really nice guy.
I mean, but he's one of the final shot callers on there, and with Leslie Lindsay out of the equation,
he became the shot caller halfway through the show.
Right.
But I mean, he's still he's been involved with Picard for since the inception, I think. So, his fingerprints are in it, and maybe it's the optimist in me. I don't know, but I'm holding out hope that because of his involvement in the show, it's going to end up surprising a lot of people, being really good.
No, I think so too. Well, I mean, I agree with you. Who doesn't want it to be good? It's after all, it's the most beloved character from Next Generation. I mean, people would say Data, but I really think it's Captain Picard who is the Next Generation. I mean, when people think about that,
sure,
and you want
completely.
You got to want it to be good, And who doesn't love Patrick Stewart's social media persona? I mean, when he was hanging around with Ian McKellen and they were taking all those broing down pictures together. I mean, it was great. Who doesn't love Patrick Stewart?
Yeah, Patrick Stewart. It's Patrick Stewart.
Dune buggies.
Yeah, I'm not gonna love.
Dune buggies.
I'm not gonna love seeing it crash and burn. So I hope it doesn't. I truly do, because if it does, it's gonna be that much worse. And believe me, I'm not looking forward to criticizing a Patrick Stewart Star Trek TV show. That's not my. I wake up in the morning going, yeah, I can't wait to.
Hey, but Gary, it's a win-win. If it's good, you get good Star Trek. But if it's bad, you get a lot of views.
It's just so crushing, though. It's heartbreaking.
I wish I wasn't a nerd and actually cared about the show. It is so crushing. But the thing is, I'm a nerd before I'm a YouTuber.
Amen.
So
me too.
It sucked watching Game of Thrones crash and burn. I wanted that to be good. F the views. I don't care. I wanted it to be good. I spent so much time with that show. But that's what happens,
No, that finale made me sad.
Another great example of having great source material and then having the Hollywood creatives ruin it because
I don't know. Did they have the source material though, Matt?
They did, yeah, for the first 3 seasons.
For the first 3 seasons, but for that last season, they didn't have source material.
That's my point. Is they when they ran out of good source material to steal stuff from, they were proven to be talentless hacks, and that's what we got out of it. Was a terrible final season.
They admitted that, bro.
Yeah. Let's just hope that in case of Picard, that Chabon will not prove himself to be a talentless hack, because I think we can all agree that we genuinely love Star Trek and we want to see the brand thrive, and we want to see Picard be done good. Again, that's what I always say. We don't want to hate on Star Trek just for clicks or for hating on it. We hold them accountable. That's what we do.
Yeah, we don't want them to let us
And we
down.
hope exactly, and they, just do better. Simple as that. Do better.
That's what I always say.
Do
you know what?
better.
I think we will all, if we get a good Star Trek show that we get to talk about live and do videos, I think we'll do just as good. I think it maybe better. Maybe
Absolutely better, because there'll be more people to watch.
Yeah.
Just look at the Orville. Look at everyone talking about the Orville. That doesn't hurt them in the slightest. They have something cool and universally beloved to rally behind. Let Star Trek be that.
Orville is a great fan base. It's insane.
I got great traction with the Orville. I got great traction with the Expanse. The first season of Westworld, I got great traction, which I still love. I don't like the second season, but I love the first season. And yeah, I think we all want that. I want that. That's what I want. I want to be going, you know what? I was wrong. Picard was brilliant. I can't wait for next week and let's do it.
Yeah.
God, I miss those days being so excited for like the next show. The last one I've had is the Orville.
Yeah.
You know, because everything else is just, we'll dump it all on Netflix, or even with Cobra Kai, we'll dump it all on YouTube. Like, well, okay, but now what? You know, I've spent a day binging this. Now what?
Yeah, it's hard for YouTubers too to like review shows that all get dumped at the same time.
Oh, I don't even. I'll get like the first episode and then that's it.
I'm
That's all you get.
sharpening all my cutlery for The Watchmen. That's the show I fully expect to be seething with anger over.
Robert,
I'll have you on. I will have you on because I'll be right there with you, buddy.
What's your opinion on Damon Lindelof? I'd like to know.
Oh, I am no look. I've never met the man as a person, and I'm sure he's a nice guy, and we could share a beer. But let me put it this way: I don't think I've ever watched a show as much as I watched The Leftovers.
Yeah, that was oh god.
I read the book. You know, I read the book. That show. I'll tell you why I hated that show so much in a nutshell. I don't want to go on a long time, but so you have a show where 2% of the population just vanished, and one of the characters, Scott Glenn, the main character's father, is a former cop who's hearing voices in his head, and these voices have obviously something to say. Never in the series did our main character sit down and go, Dad, you know, in the wake of 2% of the population disappearing and all the weirdness that's going on, might I sit down and have a conversation with the voices that you're hearing in your head and ask them if they have some insight into what's going on? Because clearly they know something. Yeah, that was never done. It was just like in Lost. I kept waiting for the conversation where somebody would sit down and go, can you fucking believe that we are traveling through time? We're in the 1970s. This is unbelievable. No one in Lost ever sat down, and there was never just one episode where people just sat down and were like, I can't believe what's going on. This is just amazing. Can you believe it?
Yeah. Multiple intelligent human beings.
No one's having this conversation. They would never. The first thing I would say is like, we are in the 1970s.
Yeah.
We just survived a nuclear blast. Like nobody ever talked about the insanity. There's a giant golden butt plug at the bottom of this island, and if you pull it out, who knows? I mean, literally, there literally was in that one set, that thing. And it was like, why doesn't anybody talk about any of what's going on in these episodes to each other? It would make me, by the time I got the last season was one of the greatest audience betrayals in all of television history. And nobody ever talked ever to each other about the craziness that was going on. They just accepted it. And I'm like, why are you guys not talking to each other about any of this?
How is this guy still so fat?
I actually feel
he's not
like
eating anything.
I feel like Damon Lindelof is worse than Alex Kurtzman in terms of like being a writer and a showrunner, because his ideas are not only bad, but he executes them like so poorly, like way worse than Kurtzman ever could, in my opinion. Like every movie Lindelof has been involved in has just like fallen flat on its face in the same way that his TV shows have. And the horrible thing about all these guys is they can fool you because their ideas are good enough to get you invested in a series, and then once they have your attention, they just drop the ball and they end up disappointing you in the most massive ways possible, and it's really frustrating.
Well, you know what's really interesting. No, go ahead. Sorry.
No, sorry, Karen. I'll cut you.
Well, I was just going to say that a great example of that, what you were just saying, is if you watch, whether you like the movie or not, I highly recommend getting the special edition Blu-ray of Prometheus. Ridley Scott's Prometheus, because there's an incredible 4.5-hour documentary on the making of the film. And you can see when Damon Lindelof was brought on board after John Spates was the only writer at first, where the movie started to go awry. And that's when I really started to dislike. It was a combination of that documentary and watching The Leftovers that really my Damon Lindelof. I don't even believe that name's real. I think he was like Fred Brown or Fred Jones or something, and he came up with that in college to help his writing career.
Yeah,
make him sound more Jewish.
Yeah, or more erudite, more Lindelof or whatever that, is that Norwegian at all, Andre?
It sounds more Swedish.
Swedish, yeah, either way.
Yeah, it sounds Swedish.
Yeah, I just didn't. It's frustrating, but like you guys said, like you said, Matthew, it makes you sound. It makes it. It's a trick. It's all a magic trick. The whole magic box, mystery box thing is just a trick that does not. I have yet to see it work.
Yeah,
I mean, they even ruined Aliens.
Perfect segue right there, Rob, because we actually got a super chat about just that. ActionCom sent us a $5 super chat asking which is superior, the mystery box or the MacGuffin?
The MacGuffin.
The MacGuffin.
Because that was created by Hitchcock, who was actually a master of cinema.
Yeah.
And the mystery box was created by J.J. Abrams, who's just picking up the pieces and making stuff up as he goes along.
He's a good talker. One of
He's
the
a
best talkers of all time.
Yeah, he's a great salesman.
Yep.
He can't stick to the landing, though. He's good at starting stuff, not so good at finishing it.
Lost.
Aliens.
He really didn't have anything to do with
the beginning of
Aliens.
Aliens jumped the shark in their second season with that Super Bowl episode when they took down SD6.
Yes.
That was the end of that show.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I love that show until
And
then.
I did too. I was.
Yeah, it was a great show.
Yeah.
And then the time jump thing happened, and the show was never the same.
No. Nope.
The MacGuffin.
Great cast, though.
Yeah.
A lot of good cast members.
Yep.
But if you look at a MacGuffin is a story element that can pretty much create the entire scenario for your movie or TV show or story. Whereas a mystery box, it's like, okay, what's the answer to this? And according to JJ's philosophy, it's like you don't even need to give the audience an answer, even though that's the thing that gets them invested.
Or just keep asking questions until, the show's over.
Oh, the show's over. Yeah.
Lost is the perfect
One more season.
5
we will
seasons.
answer that question.
One more season, we'll answer all your questions. Nope. Or we'll answer it in the most disappointing way possible.
Put it in a comic or a novel.
It's all a dream. Nothing happened. What the?
No, we're kidding. You're all dead.
No, I'm kidding. You're all dead. It's purgatory.
And then we had another super chat from Carlos Ventures with $2. Says Mecha bring back the Horrorcast. Actually, we do have the horror podcast on the main channel now. We did the recent episodes with Mr. H. I'm sure we'll have Mecha on sometime soon. We do need to do another one very soon. I think we've got some stuff planned for it. Isn't that right, Andre?
Yeah, we do. We have some very cool interviews because I met some. I've met some cool people. I've met the director of Child's Play and the guy who designed the Child's Play doll for the remake, and I've interviewed both of them. So we'll have that for you very soon.
And then Sister Harrow just sent us 15. Well, not just sent us 15 Australian dollars, and she just wanted to say anyway because I love Midnight's Edge. That's what I meant by the just part of that. So yeah, I know it's getting late for Andre, and I know a couple of our panelists have to get going soon. So I'm sure now's probably a good time to kind of wrap things up here. I hope we haven't missed any super chats. If we have, please let us know.
I think we might have missed
which one did we miss?
Commander Pessip sent us CK set. What's currency is that again? Is that chess or something? 2020. Let's see what that is. Yes, chess krona. 20 chess krona. So thank you for that. No notification.
That's
just
probably why I missed it.
So
okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, I want to thank all of our panelists here, of course, for joining us. Even our surprise panelist, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett, and our other surprise panelist, Brian from the Popcast. And of course, it's great to finally get Gary on here from Nerdrotic. It's been too long. And of course, Matthew Kadish, who has done some really great work as far as like Star Trek goes, on top of his other writing and other stuff. Do check out his expose on Star Trek. I don't think you will regret that at all.
Where can I find that?
That
You
is
go
on.
on medium.com and just go to medium.com/@ Matthew Kadish.
Okay.
You'll see all my articles on there. And there's a 4-part expose I did on the mismanagement of the Star Trek license. And it basically kind of goes from point A to point B, kind of laying out everything that Viacom did wrong and why Star Trek is in the state it is right now.
Oh, you're a man after my own heart. I'm going to go read that right now.
Man,
Yeah,
legend.
let's read it.
Yeah, and also check out my YouTube channel, kadishvideo.com, KADISH video.com. I'll forward you right to my YouTube channel if you want to. I do daily updates on entertainment news and analysis and stuff like that. Very much similar to what the guys at Midnight's Edge do, only they do it way better than I do. So.
I don't know about that, but yes, do check out everybody's channel on here if you haven't already, including Nerdrotic, the Popcast, Robert Meyer Burnett, Mecha Random, Midnight's Edge After Dark. If you haven't checked us out yet, we do live cast. We're supposed to do in about a half hour here, but I think it might be just a tad late because we did not plan on this podcast going this long. But Mecha was right. She said shoot for 2 and plan for 4. She was not wrong.
You got experience, that one.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, I just want to say I'm so happy that all of you could join us. It's been an absolute blast to have you all here. Robert Meyer Burnett, I agree completely. This has truly been the Avengers of the podcast. and
I'm Hawkeye, and you won't see me next time.
Well, I hope we will,
did,
because you're all welcome at any time.
Thanks.
We didn't get a chance to get world-class bullshitters on here, but we did ask Jeff, but he had to go. So it almost became the true Avengers, because then when we've only been like Geeks and Gamers short, I think, of about having just about all the big guys out here. So yeah, it's just kind of crazy.
Yeah. We'll get them on someday. But Matt, it has been an honor talking to all of you. Where did Mecha go? You too, Mecha, wherever you are.
She had to go to the bathroom, and she wanted to get some supper because we've got like a bunch of shows coming up here, and she's got even more than the rest of us, I think. So
I got to go pick up the other piece of my computer they didn't deliver.
I was actually talking to Gary, and I'm like, "Hey, we should live stream on Friday." Looks like we live streamed on Friday.
We did.
Look at that.
We have it. I'm gonna put mine off. I'm probably gonna put it off till tomorrow. This was good. I mean, this is kind of a mic drop. You know, it's like I can't top this.
Yeah, it's been a rough
I was with Robert Meyer Burnett and Matthew Kadish and Mecha and you too, Brian. But I mean, whatever. There's always somebody.
He's the
Hawkeye. Some hanger on. Yeah, he's the Hawkeye.
I'm the Hawkeye. Next time you guys, I'm not even gonna be here, and no one's even gonna ask where I am. That's what's gonna happen.
Snap.
One and done.
I'm snapped. I'm now Ronin. I'm out for blood.
Robert Meyer Burnett, I need to talk to you about 1/6 scale action figures for like 4 hours on a live show.
Oh, I know. Look, you can see. You can see some of my hot toys behind me.
I do. I see them.
I need to illuminate my case.
I learned about hot toys watching you, Robert, on Campia's
channel. I learned from watching you, man.
I didn't even know hot toys existed until I found Robert on Campia.
Oh, they've been around since the early aughts. I mean, my first Hot Toys figure was actually an action figure of George Lucas. It was an unlicensed figure they made called The Director.
Do you know how much that is worth now? They were there was a guy selling it at Comic-Con for $1,200.
Yeah, no, I'm never letting mine go.
No, don't. And the fingers are posable, so I used to set mine up at my Comic-Con booth. And it would be flipping people off, and he'd have a wad of cash in his money going, F you, fans.
People loved it. I was admired. Those are your Mego figures behind your head there.
Yes.
You know, and I'm like, oh, you've got real Mego figures back there. Now they're back. Mego's back.
Rob, how much is this one worth?
I'm so happy.
Was that First Contact?
Yes, it was.
But that's a diamond. That's a diamond select, isn't it?
I don't remember.
It looks like
worth $2 in a bit.
It's a good figure though. I like the diamond.
Hey, I got about 30 of these things. I'm gonna start giving them away.
You should give me your patrons.
We used to sell them in we had this T-shirt shop like 10 years ago, and we were selling the figurines in the T-shirt shop. No one bought them, so I got boxes of them.
Oh yeah, they're great. But I had to pick one thing, and 6 scale was where because I was like you, Gary. I had it got to the point where I can't.
It's too much.
The DC figures, when they started putting out their 4-inch figures, and now the 1/12 scale, the Mezco figures or whatever, I'll buy the one-offs like Diabolic or Clockwork Orange or the Warriors box they have coming out, but I just can't. It's Hot Toys and that's it. And then I'll buy the random, like I did buy a Sylvester Stallone Judge Dredd figure recently. It's a third-party figure because it was too awesome not to get.
Yeah, I saw it at con. I didn't get it. Oh,
because I have an old one. I have an old Metacom one, but from the 90s. But that when they put that up for pre-sale, I think I bought it like 2 years ago, and I waited for it, and then it's gonna come at some point.
Hey, that's brilliant. Now, I'm horribly addicted to Osmus Lord of the Rings figures right now. It's
Dude, that Gandalf.
habit.
That Gandalf with the rooted hair.
Yes.
Dude, I pre-ordered that shit. I was like, click.
Yep.
Give
Oh,
me that.
it's beautiful.
Oh.
Another 3
I know.
hours.
3 hours.
We should talk about 6
Yeah.
scale figures.
Yeah,
I've never done a chat just about 6 scale figures.
I can do it. I can go 5 hours on that.
We should do that.
Let's do it. But I got to go now. I really
I'll
do.
see you guys later.
All right.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
It's been a blast. Thanks for joining, everyone.
Bye. I feel like the Brady Bunch here.
I know.
I know, right? Heads,
Should we all look up and go,
Brady
hey,
Bunch.
Yeah. All right.
Hey.
Bye, everybody.
hey Matthew,
guys.
I just started following you on Medium.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, message me, Rob.
I
See you guys
follow
later.
you.
Bye, Mecha. Mecha, follow me back so I can message you.
Do I not have? Yeah, I had to close it because I was getting too many threats, so I just closed my inbox to follow.
I'm not gonna
someone.
threaten you. I promise.
I know.
At
It's
least
just
not
randos.
today. I'll
Yeah.
wait until tomorrow.
Just the bots, the Bree bots.
Okay.
and stuff.
The NPCs.
Free bot.
Hey,
I
Robert.
don't know who they were.
I'm gonna
but
split
yeah.
too, but we need to hook up and do like a stream thing.
Absolutely, it'd be great.
Okay,
I'm
brothers. Matt, thank you so much, man. I love you, buddy.
Good
When I'm
seeing
in
you again,
Vegas,
bro.
I'm gonna look you up, man.
Totally, Brian.
I
I'll
can't
see
wait
you guys
to read
next
your
time.
stuff,
Andre,
Matthew.
thank you for having me on too, man. I really
I hope you
appreciate
like it,
it.
Robert.
Yeah,
I'm
I'd love to have
scrolling
you
down
on.
your
Awesome.
channel or your Medium page. I'm like, oh, I'm going to be here
Yeah,
for
I was
hours.
just saying this might be something that we might have to start doing on a regular basis.
Yeah, this was
Mhm.
really, really
Maybe
fun.
traction.
Anytime you guys need a Hawkeye, I'm right here.
We will
Okay.
keep that in mind.
Hook me up. I'll be there.
You shoot your arrows and then you go home.
I shoot my
But I
arrows.
know-
I go home. I turn around. Okay, I'll see you guys later. Love you
But I'm going to
guys.
say my goodbye and if you're taking off, then Brian, go ahead and say your goodbye.
Adios, boys.
And then we'll let Rob back in here. Okay. All right. So thank you for joining us, audience. Andre and Rob, why don't you take us out of here? I kind of plugged you a little earlier, Mecha. Matthew, of course, we said to check out your channel, the Bird Network, as always. Check out that channel. Check out Nerdrotic. Check out the Popcast. Andre, any last words before Rob takes us out of here?
I just wanted to say thanks to everyone for joining. And yeah, this was an absolute blast. And I'm so glad that we had so many that came and joined us, even after we had begun. So that's always most welcome when we have Popcast and you, Burnett, coming to join us in the last moment. That's perfect.
That was
That's how
fun.
we like it.
Well, I will see you guys later. Thanks for having me again.
Thank
Certainly.
you, sir. It's always an honor.
I'm going to go now delve into Matthew's page, his Medium page.
He is.
Going
Oh,
out.
dude, please do.
He's the-
Please
yeah.
do.
I'm excited
Oh.
already. The
One
headlines
thing,
alone
I
have
have
me
to ask you one
salivating.
thing, Burnett, one quick thing.
Yeah.
What did you think about the alternate Bond theme? The Spy Me at
Oh
Noon.
my God.
by
It's,
Copenhagen.
dude, I listened to it like 6 times in a row. That's hilarious. It's first of all, it was funny, but it was actually it's a good song. So it worked both. It worked both ways. I didn't even know that existed. Learn
So
something
a
new
few
every
people
day.
do. I'm going to hook you up with the movie that's taken from.
Yeah, I want to see it. Can I get it? Can I buy it? Is it on Blu-ray or something?
It's on. It's on DVD. I think it's on Blu-ray Norway. It's on DVD with English subtitles.
Oh, see, that's my favorite thing is to get Blu-rays from foreign countries with English subtitles. That's because I'm still a huge physical media guy, so that would be.
I know.
jam.
I'll hook you up with that. So
All right.
What's sad is I got to import American movies anymore just to get decent special editions. I just got Howard the Duck in the mail. I ordered a while back.
I'll hook
Oh,
you up with that too.
3D Avengers, Avengers.
Oh
Endgame,
yeah,
right?
to get
you gotta,
3D anything. Yeah,
you got to order them from the UK or Japan or whatever. Although it was kind of cool. I mean, Alita came out in 3D, and Godzilla is coming out domestically on 3D.
Supposed to, yeah, that's what I heard.
But other than that, I always pre-order that stuff from England, which is really frustrating. Dude, physical media is gonna be dead in 3 years. I hear terrible things from people.
Don't tell me these things.
It makes me sad.
Yeah, it's that's tragic, but it had a good run.
And
Had a
so
good
did
run.
we on this show, a crazy good run. So let's close this out so we can let everybody go pee that is listening, and anybody has to join us on Midnight's Edge After Dark live, which is coming in about 20 minutes here. So
Well, I'll
Rob,
see you guys later. I got to go water the vegetable garden.
take care, Mr. Burnett. It's always a blast talking to you, sir.
I'll see you later. Thanks. Good meeting you guys.
Meeting you too.
See you.
All right, Rob.
All
Now
right,
you get to do your spiel.
You like what we do, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, like, subscribe, bell icon over on After Dark. Make sure you're still subscribed. If you have subscribed, go over to Patreon. You could get all kinds of goodies, bloopers, outtakes, lost episodes, Behind the Edge making videos, my 10-minute stand-up, and more. If you don't like Patreon, we do have Subscribestar, and you can always support the channel directly through PayPal. And if you don't have the means to support us, please like, subscribe, share with all your friends, your acquaintances, your enemies, your relatives, because we cannot do this without you. Mecha, tell them about your channel.
That Tom said he already did. I'm Mecha Random 42.
Yeah, we did, but that's cool.
Just click me in the chat. I complain about things. I'm just typing it right there.
He just said that because he's used to saying it.
I know.
Like his little script. But yes, please do check out everybody's channel on the panel. I'm sure Andre, when he wakes up in the morning, will get everybody's links in the description below. Yeah, so once again, we want to thank everybody. So thank you, Andre, for having us over here on the main channel.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure to have you all. This was more fun and turned out much better than even better than I thought it was going to be. So perfect. So thanks to everyone for joining, and thanks to everyone for listening.
All right. Thanks a lot, everybody. We will catch you next time.